Hello, everyone. Welcome to Beyond Life Paranormal Podcast. I'm your host, Russell Reynolds, and we got an exciting show tonight. We got great guests with us. They're here to talk to us a little bit about the history of the 1771 Enfield house, known as the Enfield Demon House. And a couple of my family members have investigated this place, along with several of my friends. And we have the owners here with us tonight to actually talk about it, talk about the history and some of the hauntings that go on in this place. And this place is an active location to actually rent and investigate. So without further ado, we're not going to keep them backstage. We'll bring them on, the owners of the Enfield house. Hey guys, welcome to the show.
Hi, Russ.
Hi, Russ.
Good to see you.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yes.
Hey, you're welcome. So tell my audience a little bit about the Enfield house and how you guys came upon it. And
Well, I'll start and then I'll let Elka take over.
You can go.
Okay. Well, I'm trying. Well, I
I'll
guess.
help you out. How about
Okay.
that?
So I guess in the beginning, how we started is I was looking for a house at the time, and so we were looking, and let me back up. Started back in 2004. I was working for some people out of Boston, and we were looking all through Charlestown, all that area, and the houses were going crazy. So I decided not to relocate towards that area. So I was actually taken care of. I was working in this 18-story building, and the lady who I was working with, I said, I can't seem to find affordable housing. It's going crazy. Like we were talking about houses that were 50,000, going for 150, houses that were 200, going for 400 or 500,000. So she said, you know what? Talk to my husband. He's liquidating a whole bunch of properties. He wants to start up a large car dealership like the Belize and the Pateras, and he has to liquidate a lot of houses. So he owned like 20, 30 houses. So we saw him, and he goes, I got a house up in Enfield, Connecticut. I said, well, that's not too far away from Massachusetts, from Springfield. Anyhow, we looked at it. It was run down. It was kind of a dump, but he kept sweetening the deal. So basically what he was doing was we'd come back. He gave us a key. He goes, hey, kids, look, take a look at it. Elka's like, look it. She goes, you're traveling. She goes, you're all over the States. She goes, can you do this? She goes, you're gone, you're working 60, 70 hours a week. So what happened was, we're guys. I said, yeah, no problem. So he sweetened the deal. He goes, look it. He goes, guys, it looks like a dump, but here's the deal. He goes, I put brand new electrical service in. I put a brand new roof on, brand new vinyl windows, brand new boilers. He goes, Jay, he goes, all you got to do is, he goes, fix it the way you want it. You can either keep it as a rental or whatever. So we're like, I don't know about this. There's still a lot of work to be done. I'm still working 18 years later. And all of a sudden, he goes, keep coming back. So we keep coming back, and he had a guy working in the house. It was his brother-in-law. So then he says, he goes, Michelle asked me to make sure I take good care of you guys. He goes, you guys are good friends, and you did her some favors. So he says, the house is going for about $225. And I said, that's too much. He goes, but that's not what you're going to pay. He goes, here's what I'm going to do. He goes, I'm going to let you have it for $165. I'm like, no way. I'm like, no, being a guy, we're like, ching, we see all the signs. Now we can start hustling. We can start moving things around. And I didn't think there was a catch to it. So I convinced Elka into getting it. So I'm going to leave out some details. I want to get straight into what we're doing. So all of a sudden, we ended up at the closing deal. So, and again, things were happening around us that were warning signs. Like, too bad it wasn't a big sign on red alert. You know what?
Right.
Before coming at you, right? But what happened was, the third time we were looking at it, that's when Elka got pushed down the stairs at 7 months pregnant by an unseen force. So we're getting back to that. So we were sitting in with the lawyers. We were laughing and joking, having a good time. So then our lawyer came in, and he says, well, he goes, it's a niche now. I'm like, whoa, no, there's always a catch. He goes, no, they want you to pay for house insurance for 1 year. It's like $1,200. So we're like, well, Elka's like, well, I guess the deal's off. So the guy raised his hand. He goes, no, you know what I want to do? He goes, that's my housewarming gift for you guys. He goes, I'm going to pay for it right now. He goes, so if there's anything that comes in, he goes, I want Jay and Elka to be in this house. I'm like, man, I thought, wow, that's awesome, right? So we're exchanging money left and right. And so the guy makes a phone call, says, blah, 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 gets in the house. As he gets up to walk away, I hear him talking to his attorney. He goes, thank God I got rid of that house. And I'm like, what does he mean by that? I said, is there something about the house? Is it going to collapse on us? You know, so in the beginning, we thought it was because one of the things that we had a hard time was because we contacted 24 insurance companies.
Mm-hmm.
And we said the house is 1771. They said, sorry, we cannot insure that house that far back. So we contacted one of the insurance companies and they said, you know what? They came up, they looked at the house, how, you know, it looked more than the sheetrock. And they said, you know what? She goes, I did some research. She goes, most of the houses around here are in the 1920s. So she goes, you know what? She goes, I don't see any remnants of the 1700s. She goes, I'm not going to look in the basement, the beams. I'm not going to rip apart the house. She goes, we're going to say it's 1924. She goes, if you're going with that, she goes, I can get you insurance. I said, that sounds good to me. And she goes, and the insurance will be cheap. So we got the house and I wish we never did because it became my worst nightmare.
Right.
Especially now, because a lot of people say, "Oh, we saw it's 1924."
So now what happens is it's crazy because the town knows that this is a problematic house and that this is creepy, right? Because we go down and a buddy of mine he was a huge contractor, right? To him, he could buy a house all day long. You know, the guy could go out and buy an apartment complex for $5 million, bring his crew in, flip it, gone. So he said to me, he goes, hey, Jerry, he goes, go down to the town. He goes, if it's a historical home, you can get grants. You don't have to pay back.
Right.
So he goes, go down there, and he goes, and you got the bill of sale. He goes, you get everything. Now this is true. I wish we had iPhones back there. I wish we do what other like paranormal people do, where they put it on like record it and then they hide the phone so you get taped illegally. So, but what happened was we go down there and I'm talking to this lady. I'm like, yeah, no, and no, there's a guy in the back wearing khakis. No, I'm used to working with guys in khakis. Right, but this is a town level, right? So all of a sudden, he goes, excuse me. He goes, I'm overhearing something. He goes, you have a 1771 house and it's on Prospect Street? I said, yeah. He goes, come with me. And she goes, excuse me? He said, Don, he goes, I'll handle this. So he picks up a vanilla folder, right? And we go in this room and it was like CIA, right? We're sitting in a room. There's a desk on the side. He's sitting in front of us and he's sitting there. He goes, so what would you like to know? I said, I want to see if there's any grants. I said, the house is 1771. And he says, Mr. Yeagle, he goes, it's an 1881 farmhouse. I'm like, no. I said, I got people living here from the 1840s. He goes, I'm telling you, it's an 1880s farmhouse. And he says, what is it going to gain you to prove? I said, well, if there's grants or whatever. And Elka's like, no, it's 1771. He goes, ma'am, he goes, Enfield's saying it's 1880s farmhouse. And he gets up and he says, there's the door, good day. And he walks up this way. And Elka's like, what the hell just happened? I said, this is the kind of meetings I could be involved in. So what are they hiding? It doesn't make any sense. Why would he say that? So we left scratching our head. But what we had what I call a secret weapon. We had a manager that worked inside the city hall. And she was pulling all the records and she was doing all the research. She even had copies of death records. So I would be getting all kinds of information coming from her straight from the city hall. So we were very lucky we had her in the house because otherwise we would have been stopped.
Yeah,
Right.
we went multiple times to the town, or even people who are in this area for a long time. And I ask, oh, do you know anything about that? And they can tell you about everything. But when I said the house, kind of like, I don't know anything. Sorry. But before we move
Oh,
forward,
yeah, go ahead.
Mackenzie actually wanted to say hello, and she is sorry that she can't be here today, but she is, since yesterday, she left for Pennsylvania, ghost hunting, so she will come back tomorrow night. So she said, please to tell us hello, and hopefully someday she can meet you too. So
She's
yeah.
good. It's awesome because now that she's 18, she goes on her own. A lot of paranormal teams are invited or like inviting her. We just had a team called Dimension Paranormal. They took her down to Penhurst and they paid for everything. They got her a VIP ticket and she had a blast. Yeah. So she was sporting the Enfield Demon House down there. And then we had some friends. We have T-shirts, right? We would tell people if you're going to go to a Paracon or something like that, fly our colors, right? Right?
Yep.
Almost like being overseas, right? So all of a sudden, our friend Jeanette, right? They're great people. She's over in Ohio, and she takes a picture wearing. So we had people all over the place, and it's fun. We just want to have a good time, right? So people are supporting, and it's fun having people out there. So go ahead, Uncle.
no, it was just kind of like
Oh,
I wanted
yeah.
to, before we go to move forward, and like that people think, where is Mackenzie? It's just kind of like she's
I get off track because
some kind of, she's in some kind of cool hotel. I forgot the name of it, but I guess it's kind of like a haunted hotel, and they have it for the whole weekend rented. And
yeah, so they're having a blast. So you got me, Ilko, right? So that's good. I get lots of smile warrior. I'm like, I'm a comedian, Russ. Trust me. So where were we? All right, so with the house, so we get the house, right? And so me and my brother, at the time of course he was still alive, otherwise how could he help me work, right? But we were against time because now we got to move out of where we were and we got to make this place livable. It was not livable when we bought the house. So we went next door and we started sanding the floor. Now, both me and my brother are vets, right? And my brother, he spent 8 years in the Marines, and he was stationed all over the place. And he was during the Vietnam era, and I was in and out. I was Army and Navy. So as I'm sanding the floor in our living room, at first I was joking with him. I said, "Hey, Cliff," and he's like, "What?" I said, "It looked like somebody bled out." And he's like, "What do you mean?" I said, "Look it." I said, "It looks like there's a body on the floor and they bled out." I said, "It almost looks like that they got a chest wound or something." And he's like, "No, no." He goes, "Don't say that, right?" Now he doesn't believe in ghosts. He's more like Carl Sagan. Right? He's more like Cosmos. So as he's telling me sanding the floor, he goes, "Why did you say that?" Because you could see the head, the neck, and part of the torso, where it looked like somebody like took 2 shots or 3 shots to the chest and was laying there for a amount of time. So we kept trying to sand it and sand it and sand it. And I said, "I don't want to sand anymore, otherwise we're not going to have a floor up." Then we polyurethaned it with triple coat polyurethane because a friend of mine owned a gym, so he gave me a 5-gallon bucket of polyurethane that they use on like gymnasium floors.
Yeah.
So we got that all done. Then a couple of my other buddies came over and we were racing because remember, we had a German girl who was pregnant moving in within a week. So I had to paint the walls, I had to sand the floors, I had to get it livable for a pregnant woman to get ready to make a nursery. So we were like going nonstop. And as soon as I tell my buddies, "Hey, look, you have to help me. Elka's pregnant. I'm not going to survive this trip." So we got her ready for it. But I remember, that stand on the floor, and it was really weird. But I didn't think it was haunted. I'm like, I've seen a lot of weird things out there. And
yeah, we like to watch because that was the time where all these paranormal shows came out.
2006.
So we were really starting looking into it, and it was fun. But none of us were kind of like, "Oh, this is real," We said, "Coming on, it's nice entertainment," but that was about it.
Yeah, but you know what? I'll tell you what. I'm not afraid of ghosts, but you know what? You're gonna laugh at me, Ruth. I'm terrified of vampires. So when we got our bedroom upstairs, right? I'm kind of superstitious, right? I believe that you have to sleep with your head on the east to west, right?
Mm-hmm.
Way, right? So basically, they're saying when the sun rises over you and sets, right? So we couldn't at the time. So where we had the bed, we moved it over here, but then we had to move it against the other wall, and there would have been a window by my head. So she's like, oh, and she hadn't mentioned vampires. So I go out to Home Depot and buy a huge sheet of like 3/4 inch plywood, right? I
Right.
douse it with holy water, right? And I write John 3:16 on the bottom, right? And I screw it to the window and I paint over. It says, fine. I said, there's no more window, right? Because you know what? Did you ever watch The Lost Boys where they come up to the window?
Yep.
I know. I mean, a ghost could be slapping me in the head, but I'm more worried about the vampire coming to the window, you know? Right. So yeah, so we got the house and things started happening, you know, and me with my background, I started thinking maybe there's some kind of underground tunnels. I'm thinking, well, the guy who was helping John was trying to scare us. You know, we would come in and I would put my wallet down, right? Hi, Chris. Chris is a great guy.
Hey, Chris. Welcome in.
Yeah, super guy. He's awesome.
But we should mention, kind of like with the tunnels, we actually have underground tunnels. So we found that out in the early stages through another building. Yeah, because they were transporting, believe it or not, because our district or our historical district is way down this way, Route 5. And they're transported because we were originally belonging to Springfield. Before they had a land fight, and we belonged after that to Connecticut. But at this point, they're smuggled still slaves, and they actually use the tunnels. So this was kind of like for him was kind of like maybe we have somewhere. Also because this house is old, maybe we were somehow connected, and there was a middle stop where they smuggled or helped the slaves getting to a safe place. I don't know. So that was his first thing where he said with the tunnel. So it's not something where he said kind of like, oh my God, tunnels.
So I went in the basement and we have the old sandstone, you know, and then somebody came across and they tried to, what's that one that stabilized the basement, and they poured concrete walls, but there's still a lot of like rock. So, you know, I took a piece of paper and I burned it and I blew it out, and I'm looking for smoke to see if there's a draft going inwards. So if there's a draft going in there, thank God there wasn't, Ross. Otherwise, I'd be like taking a sledgehammer and ripping out my foundation looking for tunnels.
Right.
But I just couldn't figure out. So then I started to interrogate her. I said, "Who did you get the keys to?" She goes, "What are you talking about?" So I sat her down like an interrogation. I said, "Tell me the truth. Who did you give the keys to?" I said, "I don't care if the mailman has them. I don't care." I said, I feel like I'm losing my mind. I said, I put my wallet down, it would disappear. I would go put my coffee down, I turn around, it was gone. And I didn't realize she was having the same thing. So I changed the lock on the doors 3-4 times, right? At nighttime, I started securing the doors with 2x4s against the staircase. So I didn't know what was going on, and it started ramping up, and it was a mystery. And she was having the same thing. So eventually, we got settled in the house. Everything seemed to be quiet. And in early December, it was my birthday. And I came home from work, and I didn't realize I was wearing a baseball hat. And we went out on Black Friday, and we bought our first, it's not like antique now, right? This is bad. Our first digital camera, right? So we already had the Christmas tree up, but the rest of the house still had moving boxes in there, right? And she's out there pregnant. And so she said, "I'm almost ready," because she wanted to take me out to dinner for my birthday. So I'm just taking pictures. But then all of a sudden, I got intrigued because I take a picture of the Christmas tree. Oh, I just learned something new, underground tunnels. Yes, Chris.
Yep.
Yeah. So all of a sudden, I see this big white light on the tree. So I'm like, okay, that's a reflection. But I'm like, now I'm curious. That's how my mind works. What is that white light? So I took another one, and then I took another one. So that white light all of a sudden moved over to the wooden blinds. And as I went to superimpose it, I saw a man His face is staring at me. He had his hair parted in the middle like this, like the turn of the century.
Mm.
He looked mean, and right next to his cheek was this big white orb like thing. So the third one I took, it was gone. So that the big white orb traveled from the tree over to the windowsill and then vanished. And she came down, and I'm like, hey, I said, look, I don't want to know anything. I hate this house. I hate it with a passion. And I think that was the beginning of, we didn't realize it at the time, what we were going to be going in for, Russ.
Right.
And if it was just like the haunting of the lady in white, or if it was some ghost, we would have been able to deal with it. But that sparked 2000, let's say 6, all the way to 2015, about 9 years of battling for our souls. And I'll get into it quickly, but I want to emphasize that what started happening is the paranormal. It didn't take time to ramp up. It wanted us out, but then it didn't want us out. It was I don't want to say it's too late because they're probably listening in the house, right?
Right.
It was the paranormal was bipolar, right? In the beginning, they wanted us out. They were terrorizing us, and then now they won't let us leave. So it's like, look, you want us to leave, we'll move out. And then something would happen, we couldn't move out. So what started happening is as soon as the babies came that spring, I went back to work, and Elka was home. And they had to be on special baby formula that they were in like NICU because they were born premature. And I'd be working, and I would get a message, hey Jay, your wife's on the phone. So I'd go up to my office. I would close the door, and I'm like, what's going on, honey? I said, everything okay? Get home now. Get home right now. And something's in the house. I'm like, something's in the house? And I'll let you tell that story about the dog.
Yeah, but this was where I still was bedridden.
Yeah. So
when the babies were already in the house, it was just kind of like constantly that baby toys went off. Or they were all set in a circle, or they were upstairs for sleeping, and I heard screaming, and I'm running upstairs, and they're sleeping.
Sound asleep.
Oh, wow.
And then we had the other thing that Courtney constantly got undressed.
Well, no, you go too far ahead. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I speak up.
Yeah. Oh my God, you're like, you were speaking when the micro, you were like, wait, where am I? Yeah, no. So yeah, no, and that's what happened. And but that started a series of events. All of a sudden, I run home, and she goes, "There's something in the house." So I clear the house. I check everything out. I said, "There's nothing in the house." And as time went on, that was started becoming a normal thing. I get a call, shut the door. What's going on? Get home. So I'd be flying home, because Springfield to here is only 10 minutes away.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I don't get it. So, make a long story short, we did everything we could. And
we started looking into it and talking, and someone told us get a house blessing. So we called our local priest who was around the corner here, and we asked him to do a house blessing. That's how we started. And it was kind of weird too, because I don't know, when he came, I guess Jay said something is weird in the house, and the guy said, well, there's not such thing. But he did the house blessing. Upstairs, I was not on the side, but he said when he blessed our side, and then he came on the renter's side, and there was still constructions going on. And he went upstairs, and at this point, the attic was open. So, and it was kind of weird too, because that attic door had 4 locks on it. And we were kind of like wondering, it's kind of weird you have 4 locks on the attic door. But anyways, so he wanted to go up there, and according to Jay, he did a couple steps, stopped, wanted to go further, but he stopped again, and then he backed up, not turning around. He backed up, and he throw holy water up and close the
Slammed
door.
all the locks. Yep. And then he just turned and he ran. I mean, he sprinted, and I'm trying to keep up with him, and he goes out up at the front door. He got 1 foot in the house, 1 foot out, and he says, his face was white, and he says, ignore it, it'll go away. And he took off. He just got done telling us there's no such thing as ghosts or demons with all
Right.
So Elko was getting things ready because we were going to sit down. We were going to have tea with the priest, and she goes, "I got everything ready." She goes, "He's gone." So that gave me worries that if a priest is going to let us, because you know what, we grew up in the 80s and 90s, and you watch all the horror movies. The priest comes in, Esperante, you know what? They're human too. They're scared of this stuff too. A lot of them.
Oh yeah.
And they don't always win. A lot of them die. A lot of them get killed, and people don't realize that this is a real deadly game. A lot of people take this paranormal as a hobby, as a fun thing, but there's a dark side to it where when clergy gets called in to remove something that bad, they got a 50-50 chance of getting killed. And
Yeah, and
they
this
don't talk
was
about it.
and this was done 2007. I know I spring ahead now.
No, that's okay.
2014, our neighbor's son got killed. So I helped her with the funeral arrangements, and I set up the priest. And there was a new priest there, and he comes to me and he said, "You still living in the house?" Yep. He said, "Well, if we have to arrange something, do not ask me to come to your house. I won't." And I'm kind of like, so that was from 7 to 2014, a totally different priest. I'm kind of like, wow, we were probably a nice talk that he knew.
They all knew.
Whatever. Kind of like he said, I am not coming in your house. So whatever you have to do, we have to do it either at your neighbor's house or you're going to come to the rectory. But I'm not putting 1 foot in your house. So.
That's the second time that had happened. One time I was talking, I asked after my brother had passed away in 2010, I was talking to one of the priests, and I asked him if he wouldn't mind driving to Massachusetts and to say a prayer over my brother's grave to make sure that the ground was consecrated. It's like, no problem. So one day we would have our talks, and then all of a sudden he jumps up and he goes, "You're that guy. You're that guy." He goes, "Oh my God, Jay." He goes, "I've been following it." He goes, "Whatever you do," he goes, "as a priest," he goes, "I have to obey." He goes, "And if you ask me to come to the house blessing." He goes, "If you guys want me anywhere in the house," he goes, "I have to come over." He goes, "Please don't ask me." He goes, "I am terrified of the paranormal." He goes, "To be honest with you," he goes, I had my dealings with it one time. And he goes, "You know what?" He goes, "I'm a priest." And he goes, "I'm supposed to believe in God." And this is what he's saying. "I'm supposed to believe in God and Jesus." He goes, "It's a job." He goes, "But this paranormal thing, this whatever's on the other side," he goes, "it's for real." And he didn't want to come up to the house. So we had our battles. We had to keep going up the food chain.
Yeah, so after we couldn't get help from, I don't want to say help, but after we said, okay, the house blessing didn't help. So, and then we said, okay, there's all these shows out there. But we didn't have at this point the internet like today where you can like open up and you have 50,000 paranormal groups out there. This was kind of like still the phone book searching someone. And then you don't even know who you're going to get because these were coming out of the ground after kind of like, what was it, Ghost Hunters, right? What was
Something
the first
like
thing?
that.
No,
Yeah.
Taps.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They came out and so
But they didn't come out here.
no. But
The
this
TV
was
show.
the TV show. So a lot of paranormal groups came out and we contacted some but you could see too that some of the paranormal groups never done that before. And when they had some type of experience, and then they said, "We have everything what we need. We're gonna get back to you." And then they left, and then you never heard anything from them again because nobody knew. Kind of like, yeah, it's nice. We know now you have something in your house, but what's the next step to get rid of the thing in the house? So this was kind of like quite a challenge.
So we end up, like I said, we look at the yellow pages. we've been in Northampton, which is like a spiritual hub, and there's a magazine called Many Hands. And you always have psychic people with tarot card, all this stuff. And this lady says, my name is Madam So-so, I work with the dead. So I called her up. This is kind of funny. Call her up. I said, I got a problem. She goes, oh, really? You know? I said, yeah. I said, do you work with the dead? Oh, yes. I said, I need you to come to my house. She goes, whoa, wait. She goes, I don't work with that dead. I'm like, when you're dead, you know? And I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, I contact people's mothers, brothers, sisters, uncles. I said, yeah, but if you come to my house, it's probably somebody's sister, mother, brother, uncle. She goes, I'm sorry. She goes, I don't work with those that day. She goes, but I will give you a team that's in New Hampshire. His name is Steve Wilson and Betty Cummingford. They're great people. And they're 5 psychics. And I contacted them and they talked amongst themselves and they came back. And they kept coming back, but it was so far away from them. And they're like, we don't know. Whatever's here doesn't want to leave. They said, we're doing everything we've been trained to do, but something's in the house that won't let go. So you could see they got worn out. We ended up going through I'm kind of going to exaggerate a little bit because close to 24 paranormal teams in the early days. And we started trying to work our way up the ladder. So we had to call into this thing. It was called the Connecticut Paranormal something. And this gentleman, Orlando Ferrante, which I think you know Orlando and those guys. I did not know that they were best friends with Ed and Lorraine. And that by this time, Ed had already passed away. You know. So Lorraine was there. I didn't know that that they had her on standby. So Orlando kept coming up with people, and the most bizarre things would happen to him. He literally watched things like levitate in the air. They got scratched. So he called in his partner, and he said, "This is the real deal." He goes, "This is something really rare." And so the first time his partner came out, it was quiet. You couldn't even hear the wind move. And he's like, I don't get it. So I'm telling you, he goes, I know. He goes, I've been with you since the 1980s. So they come back. Now this time they come back with like the army. They come back with an ordained minister, a camera woman. They come back with a guy who could channel a psychic medium. They had so many people here that day. Now this is where it got weird. So that whole night things were happening. The guy was channeling, and I thought it was a good performance, right? Because the guy can switch. Because anybody who does drama can do this, right? You gotta. That's why when people say they're psychics or whatever, I start scanning them. I start looking, and I can usually pick them up like that. They're fake, yeah. Right? That's why I think a lot of people don't like me because I can tell right away, right? So I'm watching to see if this guy's fishing. You know, the first thing they start asking, "Oh, you have an accent or this?" But the guy starts speaking in an English, Scottish heavy accent and things. I'm like, bravo, all right? But then what got me, Russ, was when the guy picked up his arm and started biting his arm. And I'm like, oh my God, because you start seeing blood on his arm. He was biting his hand where he almost ripped off his flesh. And it took 4 guys to pull his arm off. So the guy had superhuman strength. The guy had no pain tolerance. And then the guy's eyes rolled up, and then he started speaking. So Orlando, I feel so bad. He got upset, and he said he slipped, and he said, "I'm tired of you picking on Jay and Elka." He goes, and picking on children. And he goes, "Why don't you?" I'm not going to say this out. Why don't you take him on? Meaning Orlando. Mm-hmm. And he froze, and everybody looked at him like, "What did you do?" And he goes, "Am I going to be okay?" And his partner said, "Well, that happens sometimes, but nothing happens." It waited a year, and it terrorized Orlando so bad he actually begged to come back. And I'm like, "You can go back anytime." He goes, "Jay," he goes, "it turned my life upside down." He goes, "My son, who doesn't know anything about your house, woke up, and he says, 'Dad, this thing, and his white and yellow house is going to bring me into this crawl space, and it's going to do X, Y, and Z things to me.'" He goes, "Jay," he goes, "My son has no idea about your house." He goes, "He described it like a T." So as that was happening, but I get back to the night. So that it terrorized him. But that night, his partner stood up and you don't provoke spirits. And he has a way of provoking. This is part, I'm not going to mention his name, but he has a way of provoking. He goes, I am so and so. He goes, do something. He goes, make a pencil. He goes, matter of fact, it's my 5-year-old son at the time can blow out a candle. Do something. And I don't tell people I'm a sensitive psychic, but I could feel this thing all around me. And I said,
Right.
hey, this is a good idea, guys. This is a bad idea. And everybody's downstairs like, and all of a sudden he goes to raise his hand again. And you hear this loud, like, it was like a whoosh, right? You hear, bam, smash. And you hear this woman scream. Orlando, so-and-so, somebody please help me. So, like a first responder, I run upstairs. I want to see what's going on. She's laying on the ground. Her expensive camera is blown across her room. I look to where the kids' room is. The ordained minister standing on his tippy toes. And they got it on tape. She's like, I pushed. She was so disarmed she got up. In the beginning, she said, I was pushing, this and that. And when I asked him, I said, what happened? And the minister told me, he goes, 1 minute, this girl standing there. And he goes, next minute, it was like something picked her up like a rag doll and threw her 8 feet down the hall.
Oh, wow.
So to make a fast story, what happened was they went downstairs and Orlando said, you got to make the phone call. Now, everybody's huddling around us, right? We're all in that room and everybody's looking and he makes the phone call and he's got it on speaker and the guy goes, Lorraine, my dear sweet friend, he goes, we have a problem. And Lorraine says, what's going on? He goes, we all witnessed levitation. We got scratched. There's biting involved. There's wrapping. He goes, it's like everything all in one, he says. It's just bizarre. He goes, and it's real. He goes, I don't understand it. So she was smart. She was a very smart woman. And she goes, you're leaving something out. What aren't you telling me? And Orlando says, you got to tell him. He goes, well, it picked up so-and-so and threw her 8 feet down the hall. And through the camera. Oh, yeah. So all of a sudden, she says, she paused. And she says, I'm so sorry. She goes, tell the homeowners I cannot put 1 foot in the house ever. She goes, I will work with them over the phone. I will tell them what to do. But she goes, I can't do it. She goes, I just cannot come out. So until the day she died, Orlando, he tried. I mean, I even got text messages where he says that Lorraine thinks it's a powerful demon. And he wanted to talk to Tony about it. And that was, I think it bothered Orlando so bad that finally he actually got out of the field. The last I talked to him a couple of months ago, and he says, Jay Elka, he goes, I love you guys like family. He goes, you're the reason I got out. He goes, I'm still being tormented by this entity. He goes, and I don't know how to stop it. I mean, and this is from 2007 and 8. So we were scared because we were looking up, Russ, to these people, because we're like, oh my God, these guys are supposed to be superheroes because, they're supposed to be fighting these things and it's real. So, hello, Ed. So we decided, we started looking and Elka was in despair. She's like, there's no help for us. We're dead meat. I said, there's got to be somebody out there. So I found this guy, and I tell you, he was probably the only true paranormal warrior I've ever seen. He never badmouthed anybody. He only had one concern: to help you get rid of whatever's in the house.
Right.
So his name was Robert Baker. He was from Shelton.
His name is, he's still alive.
Yeah, he's still alive. Yeah, no, he's still alive. No, not was past tense, not good. No, but present. So so I called him up, and and it took me almost 2 hours to talk to him. And he says, and when you tell somebody this crazy story, they don't believe it. At first, he goes, do you have anybody who can back you up on it? So I said, I have all these paranormal teams. I have priests. I have all these people that will. I said, this one thing. I said, Bob, this paranormal feels kind of weird. I said, I don't think they're going to talk to you. He goes, give me their names. I'll deal with them. He goes, I don't want to get, he goes, if this is true, he goes, I don't want to get involved in a case this big. Hello, Sandy. So he said, and he goes, if it's really real, he goes, I won't put 1 foot in the house unless I have clergy with me. So about 2 weeks go by, he calls up, he goes, my God, it's real. He goes, I actually was warned not to go in the house. He goes, a paranormal investigator, he goes, told me, he goes, Bob, if you go in the house, he goes, your life will never be the same. He goes, don't go in that house. So he brought in the first night, he brought in a member of the clergy. I'm not going to mention his name. But he's kind of, well, in his world, he's kind of famous. So he ran through the house. In the beginning, he thought it was fun. You know, they were running around, okay, you know, in the name of Jesus, in the name of the mother, you know, he's just going to the house, and they took a break, you know, and they're all sweaty. It's a hot day. And then he says, where's my rosaries? Now, he had these really expensive old rosaries. You can tell they weren't from like the rectory. So somebody gave him these rosaries. So they said, Father, you had them. So they're all starting running around the house, and he sees me and Elvis sitting there scared, like two like little rabbits. We're like, what the heck is going on? So he's checking his pockets, and he's walking to us to tell us, like, you know, calm down, everything will be okay. He freezes, Russ. And he looks down. He told Bob he could literally feel something take his rosaries and slide it into his pants pocket. They were literally hanging half out of his pocket and inside there. When that happened, the fun and games ended.
Yeah.
He knew this is a battle. So he went in, did what he did, and we tried calling him. He goes, listen, he wouldn't come back. He would not put one foot back in the house. He made every excuse. I'm busy, you know, got to talk to my manager. I'm like, I didn't know priests had managers. So it was like, we got really crazy. So Bob's like,
have even footage from that where you see the living room, couch pillows flying through the air. And then
Bob's
we
got
had,
that.
at this point, we had two little Yorkies, and one of them got thrown
off the couch.
And she went in some kind of trance too, right?
Yeah, she started going into like looked like a seizure. That's why Father B was coming over to help out. And yeah, it was bad. So Bob's got the footage somewhere. So Bob said, we're not out of the game yet. He goes, I got one more guy. He goes, he's close to being sane. He goes, and that's Father Robert McKenna. He goes, yeah, and he goes, super great guy. So Bishop Robert McKenna. So he calls up the bishop of the house, and he says, Bishop, this is Bob. Hey, Bob, how you doing? He goes, Bishop, I got a really rare case. He goes, really severe. Bishop goes, I'm sorry, Bob. Really, this guy's really a nice guy. I wish I had him on recording. Sorry, Bob. I just retired. Well, it's too bad, Bishop. He goes, it's small children. Oh, what the heck? He goes, one last time ain't gonna hurt, right, Bob? He goes, so they made arrangements to come to the house. So Bob's like, listen, he's a nice guy, but he has really weird things. He likes to have snacks. He goes, so this is what he likes. You know, he likes this type of salami, you know, cheese, whatever. So we went out and we bought all this stuff. We were going to get a big spread for him. So Bob, I guess that day we all took off from work. So Bob's driving down. Now this is like a horror movie, right? We're living in, but this is real life. So Bob calls up. He's 15 minutes away from the bishop residence. He goes, "Are you guys home? You got all the snacks?" He said, "We're ready." He goes, "Okay, great." He goes, "I really hope you understand how much I love you guys." He goes, "I have to ride all the way to your house listening to the bishop talk about God and Jesus and all about my character defects and riding all the way back with him." I said, "No, we really appreciate this." 5 minutes later, he goes, "You're not going to believe what happened." He goes, "Any place but yours." He goes, I don't know. He goes, "The bishop's secretary, the bishop wrote on a piece of paper, he got struck with a mouth infection, lost his voice. So he writes on a piece of paper, he goes, tell the Yaples, I'm coming out, don't know when, but in case if this thing, if in case whatever happened to me came from the house." So he didn't tell us when he was coming out. So 3 months go by, all of a sudden we're home. And I had no idea Bob was coming out. I had no idea he picked up the bishop. Now, we live in an international neighborhood. And you know, Russ, I served Army and Navy, right? I worked in construction, did, you know, kind of like law enforcement type of things.
Mm-hmm.
I swear. We all do, right? So I hear, and being a neighborhood, we have kids coming all the time to their house. So I hear this little faint So I opened the door and I slipped. I'm like, who the? Uh-oh. And it was the bishop. I swore at the bishop. And he goes, we're going to talk about this. He goes, we're not done yet. And I'm like, so then he goes, tell me what's going on. So as I tell him, now this is kind of funny because I like to tell funny stories too. So Elka's standing there, Bob's there, he's walking by, and he looks in the corner and he goes, I'm not done with you little buggers. He goes, I haven't started. So I look at Bob and I'm like, right? As soon as I'm like this, what happens? The bishop turns around and you're like, we're going to talk, Mr. April, right? I'm like, oh man, I got 2 strikes, right? I said, not good to get a bishop upset. So anyhow, he comes in the house and Elka's there and he goes to the house, he gets his thing and I don't know, he can sense this or whatever. And he's like, I haven't started with you guys. You guys wait. I'm not done with you. So he went to the house and he blessed the whole house, went through everything. And, I was happy. And then all of a sudden, he asked if we had anything we wanted to be blessed. So I went down, I got 4 big gallons of holy water, because that's a lot of holy water. So I got a fight bishop. So he made holy water out of 4 gallons. I still got 1 vial left I keep because it's special. And so as he's blessing our medallions, the baby's crosses every now. Imagine this, you're in front of a big dining room table. You got people all around it, right? Mm-hmm. And no one's going to stage or fake anything because you got a bishop there. And not just a bishop, you got a special bishop. So all of a sudden he goes down to get his holy water. I'd say this is a holy water. He goes down to get it. It's gone. It dematerializes right in front of everybody. And he's like, where's my holy water? He's like, Bob. So Bob, he always goes to Bob. Bob, where's my holy water? He goes, Bishop, you just. So now Bob's the type of guy, you know what? He just starts grabbing everything, picking everything up on the table, papers, newspaper, whatever's on the table. They find his little bottle of holy water under his briefcase. He has a big briefcase. This thing's laying there.
Right.
Nobody knows. Nobody even just saw it. It just dematerialized and went underneath there. And didn't faze him. He said, we're not done yet. And he blessed everything and he rebaptized the babies. But afterwards, we had a talk. And this scared me. This part scared me because he said, I don't want Elka and the girls around. Because we don't always win, Jay. He goes, the good guys always don't win. And he says, a lot of priests have lost their lives fighting this. And he says, what we want to happen is we come in, we do our thing, they go away. Hopefully they don't come back. But he says, there's a good chance, he goes, it happens that when they come back, they bring their friends.
Yep.
It's going to be worse. He goes, that happens, and we got to come back. So it was interesting. It was a great talk, which I had more time to talk to him. But when he left, a year or 2 later, he passed away. He went to go live in a retirement place where priests go, and he passed away peacefully. So we had quietness, I think, Russ, for almost 2 weeks. How much time do we have left? Because I can talk.
We can go 2 hours.
All right, get ready. It's coming. No. WW up, baby. No.
I close quick the door. It is getting cold in here.
So what happened is 2 weeks went by, and then we started noticing like little things. And then you would hear rapping, right? And then really weird things started happening. So we called Bob, and Bob would come out. So one day, Bob asked us to leave because Bob, like I said, Bob was really smart. So Bob, I didn't realize, Bob wanted to see if it was paranormal was centered around us or was it in the house.
Right.
So Bob asked us to leave. So we took off with the kids, and what we didn't realize was I can swear a little bit, right?
Yep.
Because it really hurts me not to swear. No, I'm not okay. But so, I know. Sorry. But no, so they left. So when we came back, Bob was getting his butt kicked at the house. Make it 3 hours, Chris. You know I can talk. So have my own radio show one day. The hours you kick. daylight hours. So what happened was Bob was here, and Bob had one of his investigators, and he had this other girl named Rose, really nice lady. And apparently, when Bob was in the house, his camera guy was by the attic staircase, and he said, "Bob," he goes, "I thought you said that the Aprils were gone." He goes, "Yeah, they're gone. They're gone." He goes, "Then who's upstairs?" Bob's like, "Nobody." He goes, "Listen," and you hear somebody walking around. But the way Bob described it, it wasn't human. Bob said, "I listened." He goes, "This guy, whatever was up there was about 300 to 500 pounds. It was angry." And he said, "You could hear boom, boom, boom." And it started like pacing the floor, like it didn't know what to do. So Bob was like, Bob was fearless. I mean, and Bob's not a big guy. I mean, muscle, but he's a normal sized guy. He's a great guy. So apparently, I guess Bob went up to investigate. And then Rose said he came flying down the stairs screaming, my back, my back, my back. Yes, Rose, my back is on fire. No, Bob doesn't exaggerate. Bob's not going to. And so he went out of the master bedroom and he leaned against the wall and he goes, "Lift up my shirt. My back's on fire." And when they did, they said his whole back looked like something gouged him right across from his right shoulder to his left. This gouged him. It was bleeding. That's how bad it was. It looked like it had some kind of, I don't want to say like an alien, but something just ripped his back open. And Bob was out of commission, he said, for almost a month after that. It really messed him up. And then the other guy got slammed. And the other guy never came back. So that it's not like we're just telling a story. You got people who are like almost like in their own Vietnam. They're getting wiped out. They're not coming back. So his other.
I think after this house, he didn't do that much after anymore.
No. He told me because we became best friends. We actually went to his birthday party afterwards. We talked, and he was doing this for years. And he told me, he goes, well, all the cases I was on, he goes, your house is the one that took me down. He goes, I fought the toughest fight. So after all this stuff happened, Bob had one idea. He goes, I have all these networks call me. He goes, I just tell them, go pound it. He goes, I don't want to do it. I don't want TV. I don't want anything. He goes, maybe you should do a television show because somebody out there is going to know what to do to get rid of this. I'm like, I don't know, Bob. He goes, it's worth a shot. So I'm like, all right, let's give it a shot. So the first one that came up was a new show on Animal Planet, and they wanted to do haunting what animals called a haunting. Mm-hmm. So now this is how crazy this house was back then. The lady who was doing the producing, she was a high-end producer. She was from LA. She worked with like people like Mel Gibson and people on the A-list. And how she got out here was she had some personal issues with a boyfriend. And her father lived in Pennsylvania. So he said to get back east to get away from the abusive relationship. So she moved out and she just took a job to help pay her father's bills and to take some personal time. So she ended up getting involved in this production company that started doing paranormal. So she was awesome. I got a picture of her show you one day. And she says, do I believe in the paranormal? No. She goes, have I ever seen a ghost? No. She goes, is it real? She goes, I don't know. She goes, if you say it is, then it is. She goes, it pays the bills, Jay. So she said her camera woman came up, and you can tell when this woman was right in the money. Her camera woman was afraid of her. And she said, Autumn, she says, you're going to kill me. And she said, what did you do now? She goes, I swear, last night in the hotel room, she goes, I know how you work. She goes, I checked. She goes, I charged every single battery. And she goes, I don't want to hear any excuses. She goes, this is how she was. She goes, get to the point. Yes and no. What happened? Are they charged or no? No. Why not? She goes, I don't know. She goes, every single battery in this house just drained. She goes, what do you mean it just drained? She goes, they're empty. So they had to film the preliminary, right? Right. Them charging batteries for 5 minutes, charging another one, and they got the preliminary, and then they said, okay, we're gonna do your show. I think that was her worst nightmare, because when she left, we became really good friends. And when she left, I remember she ran up, gave me a hug, and she whispered in my ear, she goes, "This ain't the enemy." She goes, "You're gonna see me soon." So I didn't know what she meant by it. So every month she'd call me up and she goes, "You got to get out of your house. Jay, take your family and run." I'm like, "What the heck?" I said, I'm not thinking what the heck she's talking about. So when the show aired, we were watching, and I get this phone number from LA. Right? So I see the area code, like, oh my God, that's Los Angeles. So she's like, as you can see, she goes, "I'm not in PA no more." She goes, "Jay," she goes, "whatever was at your house came and attacked my dad." She goes, my dad's house isn't haunted. She goes, "We would wake up every night." She goes, "We would hear slamming, banging, things like that." She goes, "Things happen. My dad is terrified." She goes, "I called up." She had her own personal, like guru counselor, Yep. She goes, "Autumn, whatever you did up in Connecticut followed you to that." She goes, "Get out of PA." She jumped on the first plane and went back to LA. So she said, I was going to do you an Elka favor. I was going to make a motion picture out of you guys. But she goes, "Jay, I'm not going to put one foot in that state ever again." And to this day, she never came back. So as this is happening, we did another show. John, but you know John Zaffis, right? Great guy, right? I mean, I love John. I saw him a few months ago over in Waterbury. And he's a good friend. And so he contacted Bob, and he says, "Hey, look, I want to help out the Yaples, but there's a catch." He goes, "I'm under contract with my production company." And Bob chuckled. He goes, "All right." He goes, I'll ask Jay." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Let John in." So I think John's most scariest moment wasn't the ghost. It was when he met Elko. Because everybody thinks I'm the tough guy in the family. No. When it comes to a 5'4" German girl, I'm like, "Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'm terrified of this woman." I would rather face 18 jihadists with machine guns than face her with a frying pan.
So my cousin met his match, and that's what.
What's that, Russ?
My cousin met his match.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what he said. He even said that when we were up in Waterbury. He walked up to Elka and said, "Everybody thinks Jay's the badass." He goes, "I've seen her in action." He goes, "She will rip out your throat in 3 seconds." Everybody looked at, I'm like, "Oh my God." And she's like, "What? I'm just a little girl." And John's like, No, not you." He goes, "You're a type." He goes, "I've seen you go off." She goes, "I can see what you can do." So John's like, Jay doesn't mess around with Elka. And so everybody was afraid of her. But yeah. So so John came up, and it happened to be on Easter weekend. And we actually did an Easter egg hunt at a hotel with the kids. And here's the funny thing is, they were more worried that the Easter bunny wasn't going to find them at the hotel. And Courtney kept looking out the window. She goes, "I'm screwed. You guys screwed my whole life. The Easter bunny's not coming. They don't know where we are." And they said, "Mr. Zavis, and everybody's going to get all my Easter candy." And like, no. So we surprised him with the Easter egg hunt. We asked the manager, and he goes, "Oh, go ahead." So we hid the eggs out there. So when we had to go back, the producers were saying John's getting messed with. They said he's getting mad. He's getting messed with. He said they said that they had to get the bigger producers over because he'd be going into the crawl space, and they would hear this. He would hear, Johnny, come here." And John would come out, and he's like, "What the heck's going on?" And they're like, "What are you talking about?" He said, "You just call my name." He goes, "My name's Johnny." He goes, "Why are you calling me Johnny?" He goes, "That's my mom calling me Johnny." So they're like, "We didn't say anything, John." He goes, "Knock it off." And you know how John can turn, right? Because it's like us, So John goes back in there, and I guess he's doing things. He's looking for things, and then he hears, "Come out, Johnny, come out." Now he comes up. Now this happened over and over again. So now he's getting mad. So now the camera people get in, the big producers from the hotel. They come out, and now when John comes out, he goes, "What in the heck is going on?" He goes, "This is not a game." And the producer, and he looked at the producer, and he said, John, nobody's calling you. He goes, that's why they called me. He goes, we were just waiting. He goes, we didn't hear anything. He goes, something's messing with me. And so I guess John started getting unsettled. And he goes, I don't get this. And I guess other things happened that he didn't talk about happened to him. But they did the show. And at the end of the show, what they didn't show was
this was not in the filming.
Yeah, this wasn't in the filming.
You know, they did the reveal.
You got it. You get it good. For German, you got that word.
Reveal.
The R's and T's in German are really hard.
We were sitting on the table, and his daughter was sitting there, and they were going over their findings from the historical society and everything. And
yeah, Amy was here.
Yeah, and
I don't know if Chris was here.
I don't know what they came up with. They were, what do we saying? I don't even know how we ended up with the twins.
Oh no! What happened was they got a hold of Colleen from the city hall, and Colleen did all the work. She worked as a manager of the Department of Records, and Colleen was awesome. I love this girl. She was sweet, and she won't come here. She won't come anywhere near this house. But she did most of the stuff. So we got a hold of her and everything. And they were talking about, they asked if this was built as a row house because of the factory. I said, no. I said, you can see it in the foundation. Whoever built this put a lot of effort in it. So they said, well, you know, you had twins here. And John said, I'm a twin. And you got twins. And Elka said, no. Now, this is where things get crazy, right? And she goes, no, these guys had twins. I'm like, no, you guys got it all wrong. It was this family. John's like, shut the cameras off. He goes, what? Right? He goes, you're telling me, he goes, there's 5 sets of twins that were born in his house. He goes, this is a whole new ball game. He goes, you guys got to get out. Amy's eyes up. She goes, guys, the house. She goes, and John said, this is a whole new ball game. He goes, you didn't pick the house. The house picked you. He goes, Amy's like, the house is alive. And I'm like, I said, it's 2 by 4. She goes, you guys got to get out. So,
yeah, but when he said born in the house, I mean,
oh, not born in the house,
but in this whole time with our research and everything, since the house is built, there was never any children conceived in this house. So the family always moved in, had already children, or were kind of like me, who were already pregnant and yeah.
So so can you imagine this? 254 years, no family conceived any babies in the house. That right there alone, that's impossible, right? I mean,
yeah. And it confirmed again too, because the family who had the house before the family before the family we bought the house from, that granddaughter wanted to have children, and she got told that she can't the doctor told her she can't have any children. And so when they moved out,
I didn't say her name. I made up a name. Right?
So when they moved out, and she actually had after that she had a son.
Yeah, she had 3 kids. They moved far away, and then they had 3 kids. So what happened, like I was saying, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to go, instead of going to the whole history, we're going to go in a reverse thing, right? We never done this before, so bear with us, right? So this is how crazy the house is. We bought the house off the people that sold it to us. That year that they sold the house, the lady, I remember this to this day. It seemed like I love this woman. She was awesome. And she called me to her office. We sat in, it was a huge boardroom. There was like a 16-foot like boardroom table. And she called me up. She says, hey, Jay, can you come down to my office? I said, sure, Shell. What's going on? So I thought we were going to go over blueprints and over security, right, and things like that, the building and things. And so this was a year out there. She closed the door. I got scared. She closed the blinds. She closed the other door so nobody could hear us. We're sitting in this huge boardroom, and she started crying. She says, you tell me these ghost stories and things about the house. And she goes, she goes, right after, she goes, we sold the house. She had some personal things happen to her. She almost died. She was
Miscarried.
yeah, I didn't want to say that word, but yeah, she was pregnant with almost 6 months, lost the baby.
Oh wow.
Her dog dies. Her husband, like remember I told you about this over car dealership?
Yep.
This guy could sell you anything. Great guy, awesome guy, John. I got a lot of respect for them. Loses his business. He can't find a job, and that's unusual because this guy can hustle. He could sell you your grandmother's underwear right to her, telling it's brand new.
Mm-hmm.
It's like she goes, it's like we were cursed. She goes, I don't believe this, and she was crying, and I'm like, hey, I didn't know what to say. I'm like, oh my God. So she says, you know what? Maybe there is something to these crazy stories. So I would tell her crazy things are happening at the house. So that was the worst year she ever had. And it plagued her for a while. The only way they got out of it is they had family on the east side, down by the shoreline. And I think what saved them is both their families had really big businesses that they got. They were pretty well known in the state. So they pretty much jumped in and saved them. So that was the people who bought the house off. The guy who bought the house off of him, he had a house, and out of 200 years, nobody ever got lead paint poisoning. This little girl, this guy JP, I'm going to change up the last name because I don't want somebody knocking on the door and I don't want to get shot. So, because it's kind of like an Italian thing. So this guy, Jason, he bought the house. He wanted to rent it out, and a little girl got lead paint poisoning. So he sells it to John. So remember, we're going back and forth. So now we're going into 2002. Now, are you ready for this? We're going to go back now to 1963. Now, think about this.
We should talk about the new stuff.
Yeah, we'll talk about new stuff. So now, this guy was a retired Air Force colonel, roughly. Now, to get up in those ranks, you got to be pretty smart, and you got to know you got to know who to schmooze over. Well, the guy buys a house in 1963. He has 5 children. Now, how weird is this? In 2000,
set of twins.
Yeah, they had a set of twins. Now they grew up here. The house got sold in late 2001. Now, as we're doing all the research, Colleen called me and she goes, "Look at Jay." She goes, "It's not all that bad." She goes, "This guy, right, Mr. G, they called him, lived here from 1963 to 2001." She goes, "They had 5 twins." Yeah, him and the Arnott family, 100 years apart. Weird. So now, Colleen said they must have had a great life, right? So she's researching. She says, "Jay, remember I told you about the G family?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "It sucked for them." She goes, "Oh my God, your house is alive." Now, this is a lady who's a manager at the city hall. And we're not a small town. There's a lot of people in this town. So anyhow, to get into it, their first son, we thought was born slightly mentally challenged because they said that he had to wear a helmet. Now, the guy across the street, Vinny, we're not going to get into what he does, but he was a little boy. His great-grandfather lived in a house. It was built by the railroad company. So Vinny's around my age, around our age, right? So Vinny goes, he remembered it to the day. He goes, "It was July 4th weekend, 1973. He said, little Stevie came out of the house and he goes, "Jay," he goes, "had to wear a helmet because he couldn't get hit in the head." He said, "Vinny," he goes, "my mom and dad are taking me to Riverside Amusement Park, which is 6 Flags." And he goes, "When we come back," he goes, "You want to ride bikes?" And Vinny's like, "Yeah, they're like 7 years old or whatever." And he goes, "Yeah, why not?" He says, Jay, he goes, "Stevie never came back." So Colleen was looking, she called up some friends in Massachusetts. Well, now it's called 6 Flags, New England. What happens is Colleen finds out he goes on to one of the rides. It says he goes into a mysterious seizure. Yeah, I can't say that.
Seizure.
Yeah, you got it. In German, you can say it better than I can. And he dies on a ride.
Yeah,
they rush him to Bay State Medical.
Choked on his own vomit.
Yeah, and so he died. So, and in 2000, I don't know, 12 or whatever, Colleen called me up. She was an awesome girl. I should have got her a medal of honor for this, but people would contact her. So their only surviving son comes over here. Great family, great people. And he said, Jay, he goes, my son, not my son, but my brother, Steve, he goes, he wasn't born monthly challenge. He said, you see these stairs? He said, he fell down these stairs. But he says, we never thought he fell down the stairs. He goes, my mom and dad told us he fell down the stairs. He goes, he goes, if you ask me, he goes, I think somebody shoved him. He goes, I don't know who. He goes, he went flying down the stairs. He goes, he didn't tumble. He goes, he was on top, and next thing you know, he was down with a door. So he got hit so hard that the doctors didn't know how he was going to survive. So they had him. Nowadays, we call them traumatic brain injuries. So we had a traumatic brain injury. Well, he dies in 1973. So now, 1980s, their only daughter, she's about 30 years old. She goes out. Is this all coincidence? I don't know. Is it paranormal? I don't know. She goes out with her boyfriend. According to rumors, she wanted to get married. He didn't. She wanted to have more children. He didn't. Well, somehow they ended up going down the street. And
Sorry, guys. I think they're having connection issues. Sometimes this happens when they're talking about hauntings and stuff like that going on in a location that they're in. A lot of times they will affect equipment, internet connections, because what he's doing is exposing the dark entity that's in that house, and a lot of times they don't like that. And they will affect equipment like that to quiet them down. So they'll shut equipment down for that reason, because they do not want to be exposed for what they truly are. Same with your regular entities, will do the same thing. They'll affect equipment until you acknowledge them. Some will let you acknowledge them. Others don't want to be acknowledged, and they'll shut your stuff right down. And so while we're waiting for them, I'm gonna plug in a vent for my buddy Byron Cherry, aka Toy Duke. I told him throughout my podcast I would put that ad up for him. He's going to be at this event at Somerset, Kentucky, June 28th of 2025. There is a gentleman that's going to be jumping the General Lee uh, over 80 feet, and he's probably going to be about 200 to 300 feet in the air. And Byron's also going to be autographing these pictures right here for you. So be sure to go out and check him out. He's a good friend of the shows, and before too long, you'll be seeing him on a ghost hunt with us. We're going to be taking him out, Austin Outlaw Paranormal. So we'll see if our guests are able to reconnect and come back on. And without further ado, here's our guests.
that is weird. As I'm talking about things, right? All of a
Yep.
sudden, the computer goes poof. Never happened before.
That usually happens when
Shut
you
them
start
off.
exposing the demonic entity as it is. They will start affecting equipment and shut things down on you because they do not want to be exposed.
Yeah, It literally, it shut down. Like it didn't even like go down. It was like almost like a blackout. We had to reboot everything, and we raced to get on here. All right, you know what? In the name of Jesus, we're not going to let this thing stop us. So, I'm going to pull out my temperance crosser. So what happened is she commits suicide, 1985, with her boyfriend. They go out to a truck and they gas themselves. So now this is weird. If you know the whole story, you'll understand why it's weird. So now they lost 2 children. I could not imagine this. So now here's what's weird. 2001. Now the date he chooses this is weird, and I'll tell you why. February 22nd. I believe this is. He was a Gloucester police officer. He goes in the morning, says good morning. Probably he goes by his watch commander and everybody else like that. Good morning. Hey, Tom, good morning. He goes down. What was that? Did you hear that?
Yeah, I heard that through my headphones.
It was like, woo! Or something like that.
Yeah, I heard that through my headphones.
Thanks, Ross. Next out. If something picks up Elka, I'm running out the door. You can tell me what happens after. I'm sorry. You're gonna smash me in the head, right? So on February 22nd, 2001, he goes on to the locker room. He goes to start his shift. He should be happy, right? The guy probably took a shower, shaved, got cologne on. He goes down there, reaches down, he pulls up his service revolver and shoots himself in the head. First thing in the morning, blows his brains all over the place. Now, here's what's weird. June 22nd, 2001. We're going to go back in time real quick to 1849. The first guy who buys a house of the family, Horace Abbey. They find him in the living room. That's what we think maybe that bloodstain was. They find him in the living room. Back then, they didn't know a lot about medical, so they said it was cerebral hemorrhage because he was all covered in blood.
Mm-hmm.
He died February 22nd, 1849. 2 years after he bought the house on the 22nd of something. So he shoots himself. His other son, Robert, he went through a divorce. He talked to my neighbors. I was talking to my neighbors, and they said Robert was happy. They said he was telling jokes at night, and I think he flirted with Mariana and stuff like that. Because when she told him, you could see the starry eyes in her eyes. So there was more than a friendship, and she really loved him. And she said he was a great guy, super great guy. She goes, he was over talking to me and George. And next day we came home from work. There was police cars, ambulances, and he went out to the garage and he hung himself. The day he hung himself was 70 years to the day that a gangster committed a series of murders. And it was on June 11th or June 22nd, something like that. So everybody in the family, except for one, John, he survived. He was in the Air Force far, far away.
Mm-hmm.
So to add one more creepy thing, then we'll get into the advanced thing. Bob got contacted by the granddaughter of Mr. G's, Michelle. There's a lot of Michelles, and Sarah was involved in the house. So what happened was, she said, Mr. Baker, and I actually have the email. He gave it to me. She said, I don't know if this would help, but she goes, when we were teenagers, she goes, you know how teenagers are. We were in the attic. I bought a brand new big boom box. She goes, we were kind of doing what teenagers do. She goes, you can imagine. And she goes, all of a sudden, the brand new radio is clear across the other side of the attic, stops working. So they kind of got like, okay. So she goes over there and starts it back up. And they're listening to whatever, maybe Madonna, who knows, right? Or maybe Dio, but I don't know. So anyhow, it does it again and again. So finally, he goes over and resets it. But now this time, guess what happens? It unplugs itself. Nobody's around. It just pulls the plug. So then she wants to meet. So I said, Bob, you know what? To make her feel safe, let's meet in a public restaurant, like a booth somewhere where she's going to feel safe. I said, because it's going to be scary meeting 2 guys And, I don't want to meet in a parking lot. Let's
Right.
let's meet in a public facility. He says, she stopped texting. He goes, I think she got cold feet and doesn't want to talk. So we waited, a couple of years go by, Bob's trying to text her, nothing. He goes, she just vanished off the face of the earth. So when they come out to the house and the other granddaughter says, I'm so-and-so. And I'm like, oh my God. I said, do you have a sister or a cousin named blah, 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 blah? She goes, you don't know what happened, do you? I said, no. She goes, I mean, these people are really great family. I feel bad for them that they had to pay all this thing in the house. She, in this day and age with OSHA and safety, she's running a machine. Somehow, this is like something from like Final Destination.
Right.
The machine short circuits, blows her across the shop, almost kills her. To this day, she can barely function. She almost got killed. It was trying to kill her. Whatever she was going to reveal to Bob Baker, it wanted to silence her. Now, this is like straight out science fiction, but this is true. I mean, you got people who can verify this. So it was crazy. And this type of behavior, Russ, goes all the way back as far as we can see that 1846.
And John also told us that his brother, Robert, who hung himself in the garage, he was an artist. He was painting. He did nice paintings, and he said, I don't know, he changed because he had his room in the attic, and he said he painted some type of creature. He said we were all afraid of it, and it looked hideous. He said we have, to this day, I have the picture, but the picture is locked up. And he said this was not, I don't know, something happened, changed his brother, whatever it was. And I always think back to it because my daughter, one of them now, we played here musical round. I mean, we moved so many times, bedrooms around, it's not funny. But one of them still has her bedroom upstairs. And she has she sees stuff, so she has some abilities, and she always sees something peeking out of, she has kind of like a little hidden room and around the corner, and now she has to move constantly her bed because when she looks in that corner she sees that hideous, she said it's not human, I don't know, it's hunching over.
I've seen it.
And she said it stares at me.
And it eats. I saw it. It's eating, and it's like it doesn't have no purpose. It's like for another dimension. I know it sounds weird, but
and that comes me always back to Robert, who made that painting. So I mean, I wish I would ever got a kind of like a photo shoot or anything where they would send me a picture of that painting to see if this would.
Well, now that you told everybody that we have a safe room. What happened was because what I used to do, I made a hidden safe room because in case something happened, I wanted to make sure they got to a safe room because it's kind of like what I do. It's more like science fiction too, way back in the day. But to this day, I still lore it, because if the past ever catches up, and I'm not saying like Jason Bourne stuff, but so anyhow, we made a safe room for the family in case like a panic room. What happened was, like Elko was saying, it was like musical chairs. What happened was the attic used to be wide open. It was nothing. So, as the kids started getting older, we closed off the renter side attic because it was almost a finished room because one of the renters lived up there. And so we closed it off on the renter side. So what we did is, if you come out to investigate, you won't even see the door no more. We removed the door, a sheetrock over it. Now, behind the door, right, so that we keep the noise level down, Elko wanted a giant closet. So what we did is we turned the staircase that would go up to the attic into a giant closet. So Elko has all the clothes there. And on the staircase, she takes the bags of clothes, like summer and winter clothes, and she throws them on a staircase. So literally nobody can go up there, but the reason she does it is all the clothes absorbs noise. So that whole staircase is like one big clutter, So what happened is we used our side and we made made Mackenzie the bedroom. So when she was 8 years old, we had her upstairs. And we made it really cool. We had camouflage. But then all of a sudden, Rosa got weird. She started talking about creatures. So I'd go up there and I would bless holy water, in the name of Jesus, yes, put on there, everything. And I said, buddy, there's no monsters. And I said, look up here. And she said, yeah. So she said, no, there's these monsters. They sit on the thing and move around. I'm like, buddy, so I'm thinking, it's over-imagination, right?
Right.
And then she started talking about this girl. So now I was mad at the babysitter family because I thought they let her watch, like at 4 or 5 years old, The Ring, because she was describing this girl with long black hair, right? Wet, standing with her hair down, staring at her. So, for years we took her to counseling and everything. And she said, no, it's real, it's real. And as she got older, everything, even when she even was in the Enfield Police Explorers, and she was telling the cops that there's this woman and they want to come and check it out. I'm like, oh, guys, like this. So anyhow, one day, about 4 years ago, longer than that, I got to back up. There's so much I want to tell you. So what happened was Mackenzie decided I'm out of that room, right? I'll sleep on the couch. So she's sleeping on the couch. She won't go in her bed no more. So Elka's like, why don't you go make our attic space into a beautiful bedroom? She goes, I wouldn't mind moving upstairs and be quiet. And she always wanted to have this Cape cottage feel where they have like the cottage, things on the walls and everything. So I just had everything sheetrocked and ready to paint. And now she wants cottage. So I worked out a deal with a supply house and I got really nice paneling. And I put paneling on there, but I painted it over to make it look like a barn board cottage field, like they were in Cape Cod Cottage. But that's a tongue twister. So anyhow, I called up a guy who I know who had a rug company, because I with the way the cuts and corners, I couldn't put rugs in myself. And so they come up, and now these guys don't know the house is haunted. Right now, this guy, he's a big rug company. Right? He does like $1 million a year rugs. Mm-hmm. He sends up the guys, and he calls me up. He goes, the guys are afraid that he goes, you got somebody hiding in the other side. I'm like, what? I'm like, there's nobody there, Jim. He said, Jay, he goes, you go up there and show them the other room, because they keep seeing somebody in that room and they're hearing noises, footsteps next to it. Now, this is in the attic. There's nobody up there, right? The girls are in school. So I go up there, and, they spoke a lot of Spanish. And I said, you guys want to go next door? And all it is like little hallway, right? And they start, one guy pulls out his cross and he says, Maria, Joseph. And he starts, and he's like, I'm like, there's nobody there. I said, I turned on the lights for him. I showed him. I said, look, guys, there's nobody here. Mm-hmm. And the other guy says, no, man. He goes, you got somebody living in that room. He goes, they're watching us. So they were afraid and they were about to quit. So imagine this. I have to turn the lights on the other side bedroom, right? And I had to leave them on. And I had to go up there, and every so often to go in there and walk around to show them that nobody's there, because they were ready to leave. So finally, we got the job done, got everything done, and we decided to make it our bedroom. Now, it takes a lot to scare me, bro. It really does. Mm-hmm. So we get up there, I'm like, Elka's like, oh, this is so peaceful. Oh my God, Jay, it's quiet. And I'm laying down, and I feel this on my shoulder. And I'm like, what the shit? And I look around, there's nobody there. So I'm like, okay. Next night, I'm laying in bed, and now Mackenzie's so scared. Imagine this. She took her mattress, put it in the attic on the other side. I'm like, we have no privacy now, right? Right. The bedroom downstairs. So now all of a sudden, I'm trying to relax, and I see this. Casting go back on with shadows from the light from the hall, right? It's reflecting. And then I look over and I see, Russ, something standing over Elka, a shadow, right? So I'm like, okay, do I wake her up, risk getting punched in the head, or just say it's a shadow, right? So I didn't say a word. The next morning, she said, you know what? Something was bothering me the whole night. I kept waking up. She goes, now I didn't tell her a word. She goes, every time I woke up, she goes, I had this really weird feeling that something was hovering over me. So finally, to be honest, Russ, I was proud of myself. I made it almost a whole week. And then finally, I said, screw this. I said, whatever's in this place does not want me up here. Now, I was already in a car accident. I got neck damage, everything, right? So now what do? I go downstairs. I take the inflatable mattress from camping. I inflate it downstairs in the dining room. And that's where I'm living at nighttime. She has a beautiful Cape Cod room upstairs. I couldn't go up there because whatever's in the house did not want me up there. And then Courtney comes down and she's getting messed with. So we have everybody is living with me at nighttime, sleeping on the couches, on the chairs. I'm laying down there, and Elka's up there. So finally, this was crazy. We end up cutting a hole through the wall onto the renter side, and we made that our temporary bedroom. And while I was having our bedroom re-sheetrocked, everything, made her a giant closet, everything, bought this giant bedroom set, finally moved in back into our bed. So finally got that done, right? So she moves out of the attic. So now we're all one big happy family. So now Courtney's like, you know what? She takes Mackenzie's old bedroom that used to be above the renter side, right? Papa, this is monsters. There's creatures. Now, we buy her a brand new bedroom set. Now, I don't know how this happened, right? I think she was 8 years old, 9 years old, maybe not even 100 pounds, right? Now, Ross, I'm telling you, I don't know how this happened. This is a brand new bed from Bob's Furniture. So I go up there, I call my friend Jimmy, who owns a mattress place, and I get brand new mattresses. I get box springs, everything for him. So this is weird. She's up there. She said, Papa, she goes, the monsters broke the bed. I'm like, I don't think monsters break the bed, right? I'm like, you guys are jumping on it. No, Papa. She goes, look, Papa. She goes, the monsters were up here and they came after me and they broke the bed. So I'm like, so she goes, go up there and see what's going on. So she goes, I can't sleep on my bed. Now, Russ, there's a mattress, there's a box spring, and then there's boards going across. And I know what those boards are. I cut those boards out of 3/4 inch pine, right?
Yep.
Whatever hit that bed was like a meteor. It hit the mattress, it broke the box spring wood and broke 4 of the slats in the middle. And I said, you know what? An 8-year-old girl bouncing on this bed isn't going to do that damage.
Wow.
I have no idea to this day what blew that bed apart.
And there was another reason why Kenzie wanted to move downstairs again because she had our old bedroom. Courtney told her constantly there's monsters under the bed, everywhere. So Kenzie's always kind of like the tough cookie. She said, I'm going to go under the bed and see there's nothing under it. So she goes under her bed and she came downstairs and she said, whatever it takes, I'm going to take downstairs a bedroom or I sleep on the couch. I'm kind of like, what's wrong with you? She said, I went under there to show her there's nothing under her bed and something lifted her up under the bed. Levitated her. So she got out and she said, I didn't tell Courtney that she said, there's nothing under your bed. You don't have to worry about, but I'm moving out. So she started coming around. So she moved downstairs then. Until actually last year, until she found out that living rooms were actually parlor rooms where they're
drop water.
Where they actually staged and we had a couple.
Thank God for Rebecca that told her all this.
So we had a couple who were actually in the living room here, and since then she didn't sleep in the living room anymore. So now she stays in her room. Finally, she stays in her room.
So what happened? So I'm painting, right? I'm Russ. I'm going around for like 3 years, and I'm like, I feel like I'm back in construction, right? And I got friends helping. We're painting. We're
Yeah, because
walking
we're
down.
opposite. We have
Isn't it?
one
Yeah.
that's kind of like a pink pink. She wants pink and
Mm.
purple, and the other one is yeah, kind of like military style. She always wanted the camouflage and green.
Yeah.
So when we moved rooms around,
So-
it means we had to paint
So we
everything
got-
over.
So and this is another weird thing. So we get after Courtney's bed break, she goes, "I don't want this bed no more." She goes, "It's cursed." Now this is a little girl talking like this. She goes, "Monster." Then all of a sudden, and I didn't even know we had this. My grandma from way back had a bed, probably at the turn of the century. It was in a basement, all rusted. You know, after my sister died, they gave it to me. I didn't want to throw it out because it was memories of my grandmother. So I had it in the basement. It was all rusty. It was covered up with collars, whatever. How she knew? She went to Elka. She goes, I want Grandma Hildak's bed. She goes, what are you talking about? She goes, there's a bed in the basement. Listen to her. There's a bed in the basement. There's Grandma Hildak's. And she goes, that bed down there, how do you know? She goes, Grandma Hildak. Now that's what she was Grandma Hildak. She just thought, well, somebody said it was Grandma Hildak, but she didn't realize Courtney said Grandma Hildak told her. Now, Grandma Hildak's been dead since 2003. Now, that's a whole other story. But anyhow, I go up and I figured, oh, this would be a great project. I dug it out. It's behind everything. I'm like, how does she knew it was here? But anyhow, it didn't matter because I figured it was going to be a father and daughter project. I sanded down the metal. I mean, I painted. It was beautiful. It was like, it was a gorgeous bed. So we painted it and got it all set for her and put it in her room. So now Mackenzie's like the tough Green Beret, right? I'm going to. I want the room with the carpet and everything. So Dad goes up there with Mom. We paint that. We hang up all the camouflage netting, make it look like a safari room. So I figured this is great. We got one girl on this side, who's Princess Diana, whatever.
Right.
Jungle Gym on this side. Okay, now we got a bedroom. You got your Cape Cod furniture. I'm out of thousands of dollars. Everybody's happy. So now Kenzie's like, there's monsters in my room. I'm like,
not again.
No. So Elka takes her old bedroom, turns it into a beautiful craft room where she makes these really elaborate gnomes and things. So Mackenzie is also like a negotiator, right? So someday she grows up and wants to be out to this negotiator. She'd be great at it. She comes to me and said, Dad, we have to have a sit down. I'm like, what the heck going on? She goes, I want Mom's craft room. I'm like, no way now. I'm like, you know what I just went through? I said, you know how much stuff Mom's got in there? She goes, I want my old room back. And not only that, she goes, you know that bed you made me, that loft bed that's in the crawl space? She goes, I want that. I'm like, I'm not going to negotiate with terrorists. I said, I'm sorry. I said, it ain't happening. I'll tell Mom. I said, Galka, there's no way. No way. I'm putting my foot down. I'm the man of the house, right, Ross? This ain't happening. 10 minutes later, yes, dear. Yeah, we'll switch rooms. So I had to clean everything out. Now, a professor from, was it Yale, gave me this huge, humongous roll-up desk, right? It was huge. The thing weighs a ton, right? So now I have to take this thing apart. I barely made it upstairs in a small craft room.
Because, the old house doesn't have, they were not used to it having these elaborate furnitures going around the corner. He had, oh my God, he went with the axe almost on it because he said, I don't know what to do.
You were like, hey guys, let's go for ice cream. You don't want to be around Daddy right now. He's using some choice words, right? Like a family guy. Because I got to take this 500-pound desk apart and I got to bring it all the way upstairs. Now I got to reverse everything. I'll call my friends and help me, right? And my buddy Jason's like, man, that's too heavy for me. So we finally get it all done. We finally get Elka's new craft room. She's happy because now she got a great big craft room. Now her eyes are going crazy. I can buy all the stuff now. Now I dig out Mackenzie's loft bed. Now I had to recarpet that room. Bros, this is how bad paranormal is. Recarpet the room, paint the room, put the law bed in there out. Everybody's happy. Alka's got a craft room. We're here. Kenzie's here. Courtney now doesn't want that room no more over the attic because now that's Alka's craft room. So now Courtney takes the other room that's carpeted. That starts again. Now that's where she is to this day, right?
Yeah, but she started last year with me. I want to move back in the other room because I have more sunlight. And I said only over my dead body.
No, don't say that this time.
I'm not
So
moving
yeah,
again.
so now she's up there. Now I'm thinking, you know what? People can say, you know what? Maybe it's just psychological. Maybe there's something wrong with your daughter. But Courtney fell in love with this really nice guy and everything. So we're like, okay, she's almost an adult. Elka let him sleep over. You know what? We didn't have to worry about birth control when you got ghosts in the house. Because you know what? This guy, he worked in the machine shop, and it was terrorizing. Whatever was in that room terrorized him where he didn't want to sleep there no more. So we started realizing, maybe this is real. Maybe there's something really going on because now he's seeing it. Now he breaks up. Courtney gets another boyfriend. Same thing. He said, Mr. Yeager goes, I never believed in ghosts before, but he's like, there's something up in your daughter's room. So it was crazy, but I'm going to get back up because remember we were talking about that girl with the long black hair that was wet and things?
Yep.
So one day, Alka's like, I want my vacuum. She has this really nice shark vacuum. So Alka tells Courtney, I want my shark vacuum. And you know how teenagers are. Come up and get it yourself, Mom. I'm like, you know what? I don't want to have any more fights, no more arguments. I'll go up there and get it. I said, put it in the little middle landing, and I'll go get it. So I go up there, and as I reach for it, out of my peripheral vision, I scan Mackenzie's room, and Russ, guess what I see? I see this girl standing there, like she just came out of the shower, or maybe she died, or whatever. She's standing there with long black hair, soaking wet, with a nightgown on, and she's hovering like this, looking at Mackenzie's bed. And it was like the M&M commercial where they see Santa Claus, like he does like this. I'm like, oh my God. I look back again. As I look back again, she dematerializes. And I grabbed that vacuum. I ran down the stairs, ran to Elka, and she's like, you look like you're just seeing a ghost joking around. And I said, how did you know? She goes, what are you talking about? I said, I saw that little girl. She goes, you did what? I said, I described her. She goes, I said, it's real. I said, we thought all these years it was all in Mackenzie's head. I said, I saw her. She goes, what did she do? I said, she was just standing there. I said, I think she's trying to communicate with Mackenzie. I think she wants to tell her something.
Mm-hmm.
So we got through all that. And, this is.
She still sees her.
She's still here.
Coming in and out. She sees her.
So what happens next for us is we're going to back and forth. So now what happens is the way the house is set up. If you look at the house and you open both doors, you look up this way on our side, there's the bathroom, right? And you go down the hallway. Well, on our side, it's just the opposite. You go up the stairs, there's the bathroom. So you got bathroom. Then you got a long hallway. And it's just like next door. You got the bedroom way on this end. On this end is the other bedroom and our bedroom. So when you go up the two staircases, it's just the opposite, right? So
yep.
So one day, when they were little, he developed like a really terrifying thing of police officers. I don't know why. It was really weird. Whenever she would see, at least it was a nice spirit. I don't know, Chris.
Yeah.
You never know, buddy. I mean, if somebody's dead, they're dead, and you don't know if they're happy or not.
Yeah.
Maybe he's right. I mean,
yeah, maybe he's nice. I like Boston, first of all.
I mean, she sees that girl since he's little. So I to ease also the whole thing, I'm like, you know what? I don't think if that girl would be harmful she could have done it all the time. I really think she is more because she is in a teenager age. So I think she takes it more on like kind of like there is my age, and I think that's why she sees it. Maybe she kind of like I
Well,
don't
there's
know,
a lot
looks
of
over
yeah,
looks over
but there's
her. Or,
controversy over that.
I know. My German friend, for example, she said, I don't like that she's wet and she has her clothes on. In Germany, they believe kids and
Witches.
that those are actually demon children. So I don't.
Well, say it in German.
Yeah.
How do you say it in German?
Teufelskinder. So.
Teufelkinder. I can't.
Teufelskinder.
Yeah, that's good.
So she said, I don't know why you don't get scared. I said, I don't know. Nobody talks about over here that a girl in white with wet hair is a
Well,
devil's child. I'm really like, I don't know.
Here's the problem, which you know, Russ, you've been investigating for 30-something years, right?
Yep.
When I grew up, you had a show called In Search of. Remember Leonard Nimoy? There was a lot of things out there. You had a real field called parapsychology, and you had people that talked about telekinesis and all this stuff. You never heard the word demon, even in the voodoo when he went down there and the witch doctors were pulling plastic out of people. You never heard the word demon anywhere. And then Sightings, that show called Sightings came out. That was an awesome show. And you never heard the word demon. And all of a sudden, COVID comes out. Now everything's a demon. Everything's the devil. It's dark or it's horrifying. So that's scary because the good old fashioned paranormal guys, they're dying off. They're in their 70s, their 80s, and they're dying off. And now you got a new breed. And there's nothing wrong with the new breed, but I think a lot of things went to their head. Now everything's demonic. Everything is possessed. Now you could literally say, okay, you know what? Not John Savage. He's got the real stuff, but other people, they're because it's money. And they say this rolling pin is cursed. So they put it in, and they put it in there, and they go down the Hobby Lobby, right? They get a case. They say specially made, and on the bottom it says made in China, right? And a specially made case for this rolling pin. And then they say, no, I have a haunted museum too. I have a casket. Come on to my house. I'll charge you, I don't know, $10. And I think it's sad because John's got the real deal. The Warrens, right? That's far, they're great people. Tony, I met him once or twice. They have the real deal. I mean, his mom and dad, Judy's mom and dad, they spent their lives protecting these things, but now they think it's a cash cow business. You know what? If the Warrens did it, we want to do it. Now there's a problem because now you got 100 people there offering haunted museums with artifacts that they're buying, and they don't have. If they do have it, they don't have Ed and Lorraine no more. They don't. Bob Baker's gone, right? He's retired in Florida. Other people I know, the older guys are gone.
It's kind of weird
It's sad.
that everyone. I make sometimes creepy dolls, and sometimes he says, "Oh, I could sell some of them because we have too many of them." And I have a couple questions or a couple people who are saying, "Oh, I want to buy it because it's haunted."
I'm gonna go mess with Rose. Go ahead, keep talking. Okay.
I only buy it if it's haunted, and I think to myself, why do you want to buy a haunted doll?
You were saying Annabelle burned down the building, right?
You don't know what you're going to get in your house. You don't want it.
Yeah, that's what they say. Annabelle burned down the building.
Well, she's in Enfield now. No.
Oops.
No,
it was kind of like really weird too. I never wanted. I never thought about it getting Randy Andor, and we went to Savers. I don't know, to Savers, and this doll was sitting there.
Look at Chris. I know Chris.
She's huge,
And when he was hanging off
so she was really in a rough shape. And she said, you know what, we should take her home. And we actually bought her and we got her straightened
We
out.
take all the strays home to us. Anything we find that needs a home, you know what? Come to Enfield. You know what? You get kicked out of your house, we'll find a spot for you somewhere. We take everybody in. But yeah, she's happy now. Don't look at me like that. I get freaked out. But that's a doll. But yeah, so it was crazy. So anyhow, we did our last TV show. They resurrected a haunting on Discovery.
Mm-hmm.
And then Bob Baker said, I said, Bob, and doing TV shows is not fun. Not in those days, but maybe they changed it. But you pretty much sat with bright lights like you're being interrogated down in Gitmo, right? And it's like, and what's interesting is they make you say, and they got technology, far beyond that. They make you say the word "the," like for example, right? And you got to say it with feeling. So you got to say "the," right? And then you go "the." Well, what they do is they got technology where they can take sentences with your voice, and they can make you have a complete story, and you never even said it. So they were having me say different things. So they wanted to resurrect the show The Haunting. So Bob says they're bringing back the original show. He goes, they want to get in your house really bad. So Elka's like, I'm done. She goes, they're going to tear apart the house. They're going to destroy pictures and antiques. She goes, I'm going to be interrogated. So we did it. And they were nice. They wouldn't come in the house. They don't film on location. They actually have a production company down in Virginia, and they use actors. So
you did that on your own. I said, I'm not doing
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
not.
So they got a nice hotel down in East Hartford. They figured it was far enough away. And here's some trivia questions. So I'm sitting in a ballroom. It's just me, the camera guys, and the producer. And he's got his paper and he's asking me questions. So I'm kind of hyper vigilant, that's why I have a service dog, PTSD from being overseas. So I'm watching the camera guy. He's looking, and like, what's he looking at? And the producer's like, Jay, stay focused, talk to me. Now I'm getting nervous because I see the cameraman looking. Then all of a sudden the producer jumps up, his paper goes flying around, and everybody screams. Well, what happened was, hey, Kathy, behind me, they had put a big plant on a chair I don't know anything about filming, but I guess to give some kind of depth or some kind of color thing. So they wanted to have something behind me. Well, what happened was the plant started to move. And at first, the camera guy was getting freaked out. So the producer's thinking, maybe it's the air conditioner blowing on. And then the plant started to move. And then all of a sudden, now imagine, this was a heavy plant. It goes flying off the chair. It just goes flying off the chair. That's when the producer jumped up and he says, you know what? I think it's time for lunch. He goes, I think you brought one of your friends with you. I said, they're not my friends. I said, you can have them. I said, take them with you. He's like, no. He goes, now you know why we don't film on location. He goes, whatever is at your house, definitely. He goes, that was no air conditioning. He goes, plants don't go flying 10 feet off a chair. So we did that. And after that, that's how we got some help, Russ. About a year after, we got a phone call from a gentleman by the name of Dodd. His I don't know if it was secretary or something like that. Marianne called up and said, "Hey, I know two people that can help. Dodd and Reverend Farley." She goes, they have gifts. So he goes, "Can you talk to them?" And I'm like, I said, "All right." I said, I'll talk to him. So I talked to Dodd and I said, well, what can you do that everybody else failed? I mean, we had priests, bishops, shamans, rabbis. I even had, I didn't tell anybody, a real witch that I knew from Springfield, Mass. I had a lot. I said, what can you do that these people can't do? I said, I had a real Native American in here who spoke Algonquin. And he said, well, we never failed. He goes, we normally do this remote. And he says, I have a special gift. He goes, but I looked into your house and my guides tell me we have to go up there. I mean, here's the catch. It's going to cost me money. He goes, no. He goes, no. He goes, we're going to pay for the whole trip. He goes, we're doing God's work. He goes, whatever it costs, we're going to pay for it. So they bought the hotel room. They pay for that. They would not take 1 cent from me. So they picked a day. Now this has started Jay Dodd's nightmare. Now people don't know about this story, and I'll tell you if we got some time. So Jay Dodd was a highway patrolman in Indiana, a state trooper. Super nice guy, really intelligent guy. He died several times and came back with a gift from God. And I truly believe he has a gift from God. And I'll let you, if you ever talk to him, he'll tell you the story. I don't want to tell Jay's story because that's the story. And but what happened was he said we never failed. He goes, we're going to come to the house and we're going to get rid of this thing for you. So Reverend Farley's come. So they pick a day. Now all of a sudden, Reverend Farley calls up. He goes, Jay Dodd, we got to postpone it. He goes, Jay Dodd went out to dinner with his wife, came home, and his hot water tank exploded. So Jay said, look, Jay, it's not paranormal. Hot water tanks explode. It happened. I got it fixed. Got it dried out. We're coming up. So they pick a day. No storms in sight because Reverend Farley sometimes has a hard time driving at night. On their way up, they went from Washington, D.C. to Pennsylvania, and they're heading up. The news called it a freak storm brew. They got hit with snow, rain, sleet. Reverend Farley says, Jay, we got to turn back. We can't make it. And Jay said, no. He goes, it wants us to turn back. He goes, Neil, because there was no storm. He goes, we got to get to Connecticut. So by the grace of God, they got to Connecticut. So they called us late at night. They were supposed to be early on. So they get there. So then now the next day, I'm really sick with some kind of respiratory thing. I'm going for MRIs. So they come out to the house. Great people. So when we came back, Reverend Farley, they left. Jay Dodd started getting these weird headaches, but they weren't headaches. Jay kept saying something is going, I feel like something is going in my head and out my head. He goes, I can't see. I feel like my head's exploding. He doesn't know why. He goes, every time I'm in your house, he goes, I get sharp pains. My head feels like it's exploding. So they come in that night, and what I didn't realize is, Ross, they had a prayer chain set up around the world where everybody's praying for us, and they did their thing. So the next day, Jay Dodd called me and goes, how's the house feel? I said, great, right? Well, at the time we had the whole house open. Mm-hmm. I'm standing by the staircase and I see what the girls call spooky, this black shadow. And I said, it's still here. He goes, it can't be because we never failed. So Jay Dodd comes up, and so when he comes up, he gets me alone and he starts to interrogate me. Am I alone? He starts like, come on, what's the gig? He goes, tell me what's going on. He goes, you had the bishop here, you had this person here, you did. He goes, what are you going to gain with this? He goes, I don't understand. He goes, we never fail. And as he's interrogating me, he looks up and he's like, oh my God. He sees it. He sees the black shadow. The black shadow was at that time, it wasn't shy. And Neil's talking to Elka, and he says, hey, Neil. And he's like, what? It's back. Goes, what do you mean? And Neil, the thing shows it. We all seen it. It was right there coming down the stairs. So they got the hotel again. They stayed one more time, and they're like, what are we missing? We're missing something. So they went back, and they reenacted everything. They said all the prayers. And Neil said, we didn't ask to have God place his hand upon the house. So they asked us for permission for God to enter the house and place a hand on him. So anyhow, after that was done, the house felt like it was washing itself. You could feel it, almost like a whirlpool. The house felt happy. The kids were sleeping. We were laughing and joking. Peace came back. And I was in a car accident. And that's a whole other story, what happened there. But then we wanted a long-term renter. So our friend who's a realtor, we always go out and we scan people, and and the realtor does it. So she found this lady who her last place she lived at was 14 years. She promised us she's gonna be a long-term renter. She has a young teenage daughter, and she said she'd be a perfect match for this house. So I'm like, okay, great. She was on Section 8 housing. And we're like happy, we're like, okay, we get the money from the town, it's great. 6 months later, I hear open the door, and she's like, I want out of the lease. I'm like, what are you talking about? She goes, I found a better. Now it was a better. I didn't know there was upscale downtown with Section 8 housing. I learned a lot. So she says, I want to move uptown. I'm like, uptown? She wanted out so bad. So I called up Section 8 and I said, hey, I don't know. I was like, Maria, I said, what's going on? I said, we're kind of new at this. I said, is this normal that they break leases? She goes, don't let her out of the lease. She goes, you get out of the lease. She goes, we may never use you again because you know what, people do this. So I went and knocked on her door. I said, I'm sorry. According to the town, we can't break the lease. Otherwise, you got to pay this much money. And at the time she was paying $1,500 a month. So she stayed, but the day of her contract, that morning, there were moving trucks out here, and she was out of here within like an hour. It was like an army of people coming, getting her out. So when she left, Bob told me to call him, and I said, she's moving out. He goes, whatever you do, do not go next door. He goes, Jay, she opened up something. He goes, if you go next door, it could be waiting for you like an ambush. He goes, Bob had a couple of businesses. So Bob dropped everything with his client, jumped in like a Batmobile, right? All the way. I mean, he must have been 100 miles an hour he was past Shelton, Connecticut, got up here, gets out, he's all huffing. He goes, you didn't go next door, did you? I said, no. He goes, let me go in. So Bob goes in, he goes, can you feel it? He goes, something's back. So I could feel it, and then you could feel the air. Now we have base or hot water, so there's no central something, and you could feel like something moving around us, right? And I didn't say anything to Bob, and Bob's like, do you feel that? And he had goosebumps all over his arm. So he's looking, and as he goes up the stairs, he goes, oh my God, she did something. He goes, she was doing protection spells. I'm like, what are you talking about? Above every single entrance, she took black ash and she made the sign of a cross to keep something out. It was above every window. It was so tiny, and she had little medallions. He goes, she brought something back, and she's trying to protect herself. And so we waited because we thought spooky was coming back. And but what came back was the human spirits. Spooky, I think, according to Elka and some top psychics, they say that the entity never left, that it's sleeping. It's in a sleeping state.
Yeah,
the dorm, yeah, sleeping, and every once in a while, I'll let Elka tell this.
Yeah,
This.
I mean, my friend, she does kind of remote viewing, and she does a lot of our cleansings, and because she's really worried, she said, hey, you bring paranormal groups in it, and I have to look in what's going on, because that thing is still here. And she said it's sleeping, and she said, and once in a while he peeks, and I guess it's still good, and then he goes back to sleep. She said, and that's what we want. We don't want to wake him up, as long as he's there and nobody bothers him, or be good with it. So she's kind of like, but she got kind of like her warning too, because last year. And that's why I really think this. I don't know what it is. I don't know what pissed him off, whatever this thing is. But Dodd, when he did this here all, and he was really active, and he had a massive heart attack. Never had any issues with his heart, and I guess in his dreams, he had the dream that came to
No, he
him,
wasn't dreaming.
and
Wait.
and he said, you have to stay away from the house. You can go there, and J-Dot said, you know what, screw it. I don't listen to you at all. So he had a heart attack, a massive one, and he died. And when he came back, and I guess the entity came back to him and said, "So do you know who I am now?" He said, "If you don't stay away, I gonna finish you up." So after that, because Courtney called him once in a while, because we did not know what's going on, but Courtney called him, our daughter, and said, "Mr. Dodd, I need some advice. I have something running through my bedroom again." And then he said, "Courtney, can you give me your dad on the phone? I have to talk to him." So that's where Jay said to Jay, kind of like, Jay, I can't do anything anymore. Okay, I got the warning. I have to stay away. So my German friend, she had a paranormal group over.
That's good.
They're separated now, but she had a group of 4 psychics. And they actually wanted to take stuff. And
this is my service dog.
so she said, we're gonna look into it and see what's going on in your house. And all of them got kind of like a warning to stay away. So her group said, Iris, there's no way that we do any investigations or anything in that house. We got the warning. We want to stay away. Iris said, hey, Alka is my best friend. I cannot let her hang there. I'm gonna move forward. I didn't hear from her for a while, and I'm kind of like, it's kind of odd.
Almost 3 months.
Usually, at least every 2 weeks, I get a phone call. Hey, how's it going? And so I got worried. I contacted one of her team members, and I said, hey, what's wrong with Iris? I don't hear from her anymore. Did I piss her off or something? And she said, oh, you didn't hear. And I'm kind of like, what did I hear? And she said she had a massive heart attack.
Not just 1, 3.
So she got 3 times they got her back. And now she's still doing to help, but she always says, hey, I give you the tip and you have to do this and this and this. And then she said, but I can't go further. I have to, here's my end limit. So, and I thought, because she did not know anything about J-Dot, so I never told her the story until, because I said to her, I said, do you think it has something to do with the house? And she played kind of like the tough. No, it was just me. I'm smoking and la la la. She had every single excuse in the book. And then I told her the story, and I said, you know what? I feel like kind of like weird because you never mentioned it. You have a heart issue, and we have J-Dot, and I told her that. And then it got quiet, and then she kind of like admitted. She said, I didn't listen to the warning, and I think it showed me kind of like how far I can go and where my limits are. So. And
that's a thing, and you might even know, because Iris was actually, what people don't realize, Iris is German. She doesn't speak one thing of English. Years and years ago, Ed Warren was working on a case, and I don't know how they met, but Ed went to some of his best psychics and was trying to get some information, and none of these so-called people like could guess it. I don't know if they were part of the Warren legacy, but he asked them, can you help? And they were nothing. So somehow he met Iris, and somehow
he met Iris through Chris.
Chris
McKenna. Yeah, Chris was married to a German. His wife was German, and that's how they got they met. And it was also because she could translate, because I was.
So Iris, she works with the German government solving codes. So it's not like America where you get something. Well, in Europe, you get something wrong, it's going to be a lot worse than, here, because they are, so you don't want to be a fraud in Germany, especially in the old days. So I guess Ed somehow, she impressed Ed so much because not only did she help him solve whatever he was working on, gave him warnings, he actually made her a member of the Warren Legacy, and he relied on her. So when we started doing this thing, Iris and Elka became best friends. And but the thing that happens, this thing with heart attacks, like for example, she was mentioning J. Dodd. J. Dodd was healthy, and this entity, like he said, I did a radio show with Greg Balkan many times, and I got J. Dodd on there as a special guest, and J. Dodd told him there was nothing wrong with him, and this entity, like Elka said, went to him and said, "Stay away," and he's like, "I'm a man of God." So anyhow, he says, he goes, "You got to get away from me." He goes, "I'll show you." Well, J. Dodd had a massive heart attack, several of them, just like Iris, and died and came back. So while he's in his hospital room, this thing went to him and said, "Now, do you know who I am? Now get away." So, and Iris had the same thing. As soon as you start like poking the bear, it pokes back. Now, these two weren't the only ones that got it. The one guy didn't make it. I had a good friend of mine who was an attorney, and I was working with him, and I told him I wanted that I was with this place called Countrywide. And he goes, "Oh my God." He goes, they're horrible. He goes, "You know what?" And I started telling him about ghost stories. And he says, "Jay, I don't believe in ghosts." He was even joking with Elka. He goes, "Elka," he goes, "I'll draw up the papers, you sign them." And he goes, "And we'll have Jay put away." He goes, in a funny form, And I'm like, "Come on, guys, it ain't funny, right?" So he was a good friend. And so he got us, we couldn't get what he wanted, but he got us into a really nice mortgage. Well, that was in the beginning of October. And he's like, "Guys, don't be a stranger." He goes, "Listen, I have awesome Christmas parties." He goes, "I want you guys to come, get out of the house." And we're like, "It's too early." I said, "I got kids." I said, now, and Alka's like, "You know what? We'll see if we can make it." And Mike's like, "Okay." He goes, and this is sad. Russ, Mike came up to Elka. He was a big burly guy. He had a sense of humor and everything. And Elka gets affected by this too. He came up, gave Elka a big hug, and says, "Look, guys, make sure you come to my party." And I said, "Okay." So that year, of course, the kids are toddlers. We're busy, things running around. And then my brother comes up. It's 2010. And so who would know that year I would lose half my friend, right? So all of a sudden that spring, my brother dies. We don't know how he dies. A week after that, Elka's dog from Germany ends up with some kind of weird seizure. We had to put her to sleep. The following week, my sister, who was older than I am, they find her in her apartment, sitting in her chair. She died. So after I went back to college, I was going back to college full time, and the director comes in and he says, "Hey, Jay," he goes, "You shouldn't be here, boy." He goes, "My God," he goes, "I don't know how you're still functioning." Well, I think it's from the military, but he goes, "You lost half your family." He goes, take off the summer." He goes, "Matter of fact," he goes, "Why don't you?" He goes, "Why don't you go play with some welding or something?" He goes, I'll give you a free course." He goes, "You get your mind off things." He goes, if you So as I'm doing that, and I was redoing my pond out there. The phone rings. Elka answers, and she said, "Jay, it's a lawyer on the phone." I'm like, "What happened now?" He goes, "Are you Jay and Elka Yates?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "I'm attorney so-and-so." He goes, "I'm handling the estate of Michael, blah, 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 blah." I'm like, "Get out of here." I said, "Did Mike put you up this?" Because we're always playing practical jokes. And he says, "No, Jay." He goes, "Mike's dead." Last October, right after he closed the house, he got us into everything. Mike was teaching softball, and out of nowhere, he had a massive heart attack and died. I don't know if it was October 31st, but it was somewhere close to Halloween. Then in May, my brother dies. Then Elka's dog dies. Then my sister dies. So that year, everybody was gone. So it was like we know the history of the house, and we know people weird have just died like that. So that set up a weird thing of Mike. Then it was oh my God, J. Dodd, Iris, and there was another person that my friend Al, who was working in the house, had a massive heart attack. And then his son was hit and struck by a car right after that. So people ask us, this is a question everybody asks us is, why don't you just get up and leave? Why are you there? Is it because you want to be famous? No. We tried 3 times. And every time we tried to leave, Russ, something came in massive and stopped us. Like in 2010, we were planning on, after Mike got us supposedly some money back, we were supposed to move. And the deal was that we were going to move and let this house be abandoned. And something stopped us. So then in 2015, I was working with this awesome company, and I was traveling everywhere for them. So I was going to see if I could put a transfer in to North Carolina, down by Charlotte. And we were looking for houses down in Rock Hill, and we were looking, and all of a sudden, I went to get a physical that day, and on the way home, out of nowhere, I get rear-ended. Now, you think this is just an accident, but I saw this guy with a white, like weird, it was a weird utility, right? Truck, no marking time. Now the guy gets out. Now this is gonna scare you. So I was fixed on his face. He gets out. He had like a black beard. His eyes were black, like they were like black like this, right? And I'm looking at him, and his hard hat looked like something from the early 1940s. It wasn't like a normal hard hat. It was round and shiny. So I'm looking at him like, man, this guy's out of time. So all of a sudden I look up in front of me. I see a caravan full of kids. What do you guys have to disclose? Not in Connecticut. Connecticut is one of these sucky states, man, Chris. Massachusetts you do, but Connecticut, you can literally whack somebody and then you don't have to tell anybody, Chris.
Missouri's the same way. You don't have to disclose anything that happens in a house.
Yeah, you don't have to disclose. So all of a sudden I look up, there's a car full of caravan kids out jumping up and down. I'm like, oh my God. I stop and I look behind me. Here's this giant SUV barreling down the street. And I look up, I'm like, please God, don't let me hit the kids. Whatever, don't let me hit the kids. I said, I'll take the impact, guys, but don't let me hit the kids. Mm-hmm. So when I said that, the lady crossed the massive Route 5, because it's a busy highway. It's almost like Route 1A down in Boston. So she crosses over, and that lady, bam, hits me, pushes my car almost 100 feet. What saved me was I had a huge, like, you know those impact boxes that people put ghost hunting in there, but I had a big one in the back of my trunk, and it absorbed the shock. So I get out, I'm all like still nerved up, and the lady gets out, and she goes like, "Oh my God!" She goes, I was talking to my husband on the phone, but she goes, "I was fixated on that guy over." And she goes, "There was a guy." She goes, "with a round hard hat." She goes, "with black eyes." She goes, "He looked weird." She had a black goatee. And she goes, "And where did he go?" I said, she goes, "Did you see that guy?" And she's looking around. Now, this road, cars go like this. You just can't get into your truck,
right,
turn around and take off, right? And she's nerved up, not because she totaled me, almost killed me, right? She's nerved up because she can't figure out where that guy went. She's like, she described the guy, everything, and she's like, "Where did he go?" She goes, "I mean, it was in seconds. So there's no way he could have went to a drive, nothing. He vanished." And so I changed the subject. I said, "No, I said, let me go get the insurance and we'll exchange them and we'll be okay." And so that stopped us. But that guy, his face is still burnt in my mind. And that lady, to this day, I think still thinks about that guy. But was he real? Did he turn around? I don't know. It just vanished. So as all this was taking place, so that was the second time. So the third time is we got everything settled. We were going to rent a house, 5 acres of land down in Virginia, down by Langley, and it was nice. And we were 2 weeks away from moving. And Courtney's like, no more spooky, everything. We were just going to walk away. We had moving trucks coming in. Utilities companies were going to shut me off. I get a phone call, Ross, from the realtor. She goes, I'm sorry, Jay. I don't want to. This is one phone call that's going to suck. She says, the people who were renting out the house didn't give us any reason. They don't want to rent out the property. She goes, I'm sorry. She goes, I'll keep looking for another house. We had to stay. We had to reverse everything, contact us. It's a pain in the butt. We had to call the schools, get them reread. It was awful. And as soon as we did that, it was like 2019, right? And then when COVID hit, then they ended up in high school, and we're like, you know what? I think we're gonna have to stay here. That was that South Bear was near Sandy Hook, Connecticut. Yeah. Fairfield's creepy. But yeah, so we
too. Sandy Hook is sad.
Yeah, Sandy Hook is sad what happened. But it was a fight and a half, and so knock on wood, we have people, remote viewers. We have really good people checking in the house. We had some of the best people come in the house over the years, fight the fight. A lot of them got taken out. I mean, it sounds like science fiction, but it's true.
We have also good ones.
We have good ones too. It's not bad.
Right.
Yeah, we have some where I really think they're look also out for us. I mean, it sounds not weird, but I firmly believe that we have also some past who own the house, or where we know they will, and they come sometimes to spirit boxes with their names and coming through. And I really think they're also here to protect and look over us. So not everything is.
It's not all bad no more. That one entity went to sleep. He's sleeping, but he's not going to. We have. I know. I said this to Johnny. Don't tell people this. I said because we were talking, and some people want to come up the house. I said we haven't lost anybody yet. I said it's safe. And John's like, oh my God, Jay. He goes, don't tell people. I said I never thought about that. So John's like, we haven't lost anybody yet. It's like, oh God. So. But we have human spirits, and there's a lot of them because a lot of people die. We don't even know how many renters die. I mean, thank God for Chris. Chris Mack has been doing a lot of research for us. Chris, thank you. I always say that. I mean, he spends a lot of time also digging in the old newspapers and things. Sometimes a lot of things. Some things we didn't even know. There's so much layers we don't. Yeah. We probably never know. But like Elka said, that one evil entity, according to Iris, still here. That they never got rid of it. It just went dormant. It's sleeping. Every once in a while, according to Iris, it opens its eyes and looks around.
This is not. She said it's not related to the house. She said it is the land. It's the land.
Something in the land.
And she said this is something you don't get away. It is so long, and this
so powerful,
so long in this area. She said you can't get rid of it. There's no way that you ever will get rid of this thing.
So what we do have is pretty cool because there's a lot of things that people don't realize. They pick up on a woman. Her name's Elizabeth. I found a newspaper about the underground. Good job, Chris. Chris, you got to get up here one day, buddy. I'm gonna scare you so bad, Chris. You'll never sleep ever again. I love Chris. I will make your nightmares come true, Chris. No. I will put a clown in the bathtub waiting for you. No.
That was Jeanette's biggest worry is that she's afraid of clowns. So
I know. I told her.
She said, "Oh, this creature sitting there in the corner, but it doesn't bother me. But don't show me a clown." I'm kind of like, Jeanette, really?
She's funny because she's also a vet too, and she's like. She goes, we have the weirdest sense of humor. She goes, well, please do not put any clown mask in the bathroom. So, but what was I saying? Yeah, so we have Horace Abbey. They picked up on him. So somebody ran into him. We had a really good psychic come in a couple of years ago, and ran into this guy, and she said, hey, and I know nobody knew this, right? She goes, I just ran into a guy probably from the early 1800s. His name is Horace. I'm like, what? She goes, Abbey, Abbe. And they're like, oh my God. Nobody knew that, right? So she said, yeah, he said that he had a head injury. And, but again, it's weird. It's like a paradox. They say he died from hemorrhaging. According to her, he was hit in the head. He thinks it was, again, this is weird. His wife, please don't turn on me like this. Again, somehow she said it feels like his wife did it to him. That she clubbed him for some reason. I don't know. But
I was had contact with Horace Abbey too.
Really?
Yeah, and she said he is a person who knew there is something wrong with the house or with the lamp. He said this is one of the ones. That was our other daughter. She has a sleepover, and she wanted to say good night. Love you.
Yeah. So Iris picked up on that. We also have there's Elizabeth. But we have a couple ornery spirits. They're harmless. There's oh my God, William Lydell. He was marrying Arnott's father. We have residence ghosts, right? And they're harmless. People have picked up, and I'm surprised that some psychic and mediums they actually tap in. I don't know how they do it because I'm a big skeptic, Russ, like that. I'll sit there, I'll watch them play games and everything, and I figure out who they are. And I don't say anything to their face because it's not my job to, but I take it with a grain of salt. But other ones baffle me. I'm like, how either you did some serious digging or you really ran into these guys. And yeah, people come in, they have a lot of fun. I give them an option. They can come in and they can just take the keys and they can go ghost hunting from, I don't know, you change the hours on the website with Kenzie. Or, you know what, I'll take an hour, maybe even an hour and a half.
Stories from 7 to 6 or something.
Yeah, and we tell a story, but we also show them some evidence. We show them the German Bible that was shredded, the one that Joe had put way up there, that we found shredded. We have that. Some people are afraid to even touch that because as I go to touch, I said, besides you, the entity is the one that shredded. I said, so you're holding a Bible that some unknown entity ripped apart, and they're like, they won't touch it.
Right.
So we actually have some wooden pegs that came from the house. The house is actually held together by wooden pegs, from the 1700s. We have those. We have some weird photographs. We got pictures of Bishop McKenna in the house and other people. So
we had a lot. We found really weird stuff, Russell. Kind of like we found gunshot shell.
Wait, hang on. Let's be right back.
We had a lot of teeth we found in the attic because he put a floor in it. Mm-hmm. So we used the eaves kind of like for storage. So we found kids' clothes and really weird stuff. And then we have on our side, they had to open up the wall because a pipe went through and it was leaking. So they had to open it up. And someone was doing satanic writings, and he pulled out a cloth, a purple cloth, and we were asking what it is, and one told us it was an altar cloth because they had a hole in the middle.
That was creepy.
So yeah, we take
some
weird stuff out.
So one of the things that happened now, if you're gonna buy the book, buy it from us. We will autograph it. A lady wrote a book about us. And the weird, not funny, but she contacted me. They're not funny. She she contacted, and this is what's weird. People, I don't know how to say it. If you come in and visit and you ghost hunt and you leave, you're fine. But when you start digging into the house, it's almost like you have a nervous breakdown of some type.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I talked with I don't want to say with John, but I talked with some people who've been in the field for a long time. And if it was just one person, okay, they went crazy. But it's everybody since we opened up that tried to work with us, who got involved. They ended up having something happen where out of nowhere they get really strange and weird.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like something, I don't want to say something possesses them, but they end up having some kind of a breakdown. So this lady contacted us to write this book. Really awesome woman, right? And nothing out of the ordinary. She wrote hundreds of books. She wrote books all over the place about Lizzie Borden, the murder, everything. So she comes up to write the book. I mean, she did a great job. We get phone calls. What about this? What about that? I mean, she interviewed John Zaffis. She interviewed some of the best people out there, even some of my close friends, and pictures and everything. So anyhow, when she came in, she even says on radio shows that she subbed at every location that she was at. When she came out here, something scared her so bad that she would not sleep here.
It was up in the attic.
It was in the attic. She ran down the stairs.
Up there, yeah.
But then after that, we noticed, me and other people close by, even Joe, said her demeanor changed. Now, we didn't know what was going on. We didn't know if it was something personal in her life. We were like, okay, give her some space. As time went on, things got weird. But anyhow, make a long story short, she wrote a book, and she went deep into it. And she got newspaper articles, cemeteries. If you get a chance, if you buy it from us, it's a little bit more money, but we autograph it for you guys, right? Okay, for $30, and the money goes back into the house. So anything that we make goes back into repairs, keeping the lights on for everybody. So there's a book about us. But now, boss, this is my box. This is the box I protect right here. Right? Inside this box, how much research? This is a holy grail. Ready? As I would have think now in this box, Ross, see, I'm calling you Chris Max, my mind. This is how much research people realize went into this house. Right? So we have a lot of stuff on the house. And I'm not okay if you want to show this or not.
Yeah, why not?
All right. We're getting a treat. This is the Holy Bible in German. What makes it special, Ross, is this was Elke's grandmother from Germany, from Deutschland. Now, the Bible is written in Old German. And what happened was that night that Orlando and his partner were out, the night that they called Lorraine, Orlando and everybody said, you know what, guys? They burnt sage. Orlando said, guys, we do this as a hobby. We have real jobs. We have wives, family. I don't even want to leave you guys. I want to sleep in your house. He goes, I'm afraid something's going to attack you guys. So the only thing they could do was holy water and sage. So the next day we get up, we get the kids ready. They're like maybe 4 or 5, not even 4 years old. They're maybe 2, 3 years old. We get them together. We went out that day. So we came back. Now a guy named Joe, he's like 6'3". He puts the Bible way up on top so that the kids can't get it. It's like the highest point in the closet because they say that spooky comes out. So what happens now, Russ? We come home. I go into the bedroom. I'm like, oh my God. What I see on the bed, somebody takes raw sage and throws it all over the bed. Nobody's home in the house, right? How does this happen? I hear this bloodthirsting scream coming from the baby's room. Elka's crying. What she finds, Russ, is the Bible shredded. Something blew open the closet door, ripped out the Bible. There was pages blown all over the room. We had unburnt safes. There was nobody in the house. We called Orlando and everybody, and someone finally came up, and they're like, this is crazy. They said, what the heck happened here? So they said, so we put it back into the closet. I said, don't let it win. I said, put it back in the closet. So Elka was crying because that was her grandmother's
It was
wife.
actually in there since last year.
Yeah. So then
we put it in that box there.
So now the paper I sometimes show people is this paper here, Russ. Yeah, because that was the Holy Bible. So this paper, when people see this, they say, what is it? They don't realize what this paper is. Well, this is a copy. When I went down to Colleen's down there, she wanted to make up a copy of people that lived here. So what this is, it was made as a reference for me. So when I want to go back, it shows the year it was sold, the amount, who bought it. It's basically a transfer of ownership, like when you go down to get the deeds. And she'd written on the volumes. Well, when she did that, what she didn't realize what was happening is it also came out almost like the Da Vinci Code, right? Kind of, right? Mm. You started seeing something weird happening. You started seeing this magical number 11 and 22. And it shows in all these translations, like, for example, the house is bought and sold 11 May, 22 May, 22 September, 22 March, 22 June. But then you start looking at how people died on certain dates. There's 11, or there's 22. Really weird. It's really weird. If you can figure out how that works, it's really weird. So this is how many people had bought and sold the house in the amount of time. Some people only had it for 6 months. And this goes all the way back to the first owner. So we got that.
Yeah, we have. And like we had last year, one of our town, he runs kind of like Halloween street, kind of like the king of Halloween. And we invited him because we see him every year. So we invited him over, and he's a carpenter. And we were talking about the 11 and 22. Never ever thought about that.
Oh,
and he went to the restroom, and he comes down and he said, "You know what? You have 11 stairs." And then when we call the next door, so we have 22 stairs. And we're like, "Nice, thank you." Another thing I can think about it.
So Ross, look at these stakes. I didn't get these from Buffy, but I remember. These are actually the wooden nails. So can you imagine somewhere in 18 to 1770 when they're building this big house? Think about this. When this house was built, a single family house, it was built in the middle of nowhere. It was probably like 2,300 square feet. That's a big house, right? And the guy, imagine he probably had a big leather pouch, and these nails were in there, and he drove them into their whole walls up, the whole beams up. So as I was working, you can even see where they took. Like they didn't have pencil marks, but they took and they scribed it on the depth of how deep they were supposed to go. And this is what holds the house together. Not only that, what's interesting is they knew what kind of wood to use, how it would swell up, what would happen, what they would use. So these are the actual nails. You can even see this one here where it was banged in with some kind of mallet. So we have these, and you can see some of them water damage from being inside there. So they were. And somebody had a carbon. So I find it fascinating. Historical wise, it's an amazing house. With the influence of the people that lived here. So when we opened up in 2023, I mean, I was skeptical, but Mackenzie's like, come on, guys, let's do something. And we're like, I don't know. I didn't even know where to go. So I'm not a paranormal guy. This is not my niche, Enfield. I said, so we pretty much winged it. We pretty much relied on the professionals out there, and we keep evolving. We find, it's like research and development, right? What doesn't work, like say what we tried in 2023, you know what? Now we throw that out. We try something different because, like I said, we're not like the Farmersworth End. We're not like Wilson Castle. We're a unique mom and pop shop, kind of like, and my daughter runs it, and I'm the storyteller. She's the muscle behind it. She's the one that keeps the wheels going. And Mackenzie, she hand makes the t-shirts. She pays the taxes.
She's pretty good with it.
She's pretty good.
Just created a new website.
Yeah, she works on her website.
So
She gets out and about. She's like the boots on the ground, like we say in the military. And
but I mean, over the last couple of weeks, we were really kind of like quiet and stepping back because they both were. I mean, Courtney graduated 2 weeks ago, and Kenzie graduated on Tuesday. So by the end of the month, she starts college already. And then in September, Courtney starts college. So we were kind of busy. Kind of like, because everyone says, "Oh, what's going on?" But you don't do anything. And kind of like, too much stuff going on, Now we have a big graduation party coming up. And then funeral this week, a family member.
Oh, my God.
So it's just kind of like busy. One thing after the other. So I hope July is turning a little bit more.
Yeah, we haven't. My God, Ross, we haven't really been doing that much. We get busy. So it's like algorithms, right? There's times we're swamped, and other times it's like, I think it's everywhere else. There's times we get so busy we can't keep up. Other times we can't get people in the house, and then we have life. I mean, this isn't our life. This is like a hobby. Where we have normal lives. Like Elke was saying, I have been to more funerals in the last 5 years than I've been to weddings or parties. It's like every 6 months I'm burying a relative. It started like last year. My aunt by marriage, she dies. Then my cousin's son, who wasn't old, he dies. And now last week, her husband passes away, so we got to go to a funeral. We got graduation, 2 different schools. One of my daughters goes to a private school in Westfield. My other daughter goes to Enfield High, and it's just been living life on life terms. Whatever. If they throw tomatoes at you, you make gravy, right? You make sauce, right? If they throw lemons at you, and that really hurts because they burn. But no, you know what I'm saying? You're living life, and on top of it, we have this little unique paranormal business, and I think it's unique because it's a well-kept house. It's a small house, but
we have a bathroom. A lot of people, when they come in, they come like, "Do you have a bathroom?" I'm kind of like, "What?" And do you have heat?
If this, But I tell people, if you're a paranormal thrill seeker, where you're like running through vacant buildings, this ain't the place. I felt bad. This one guy showed up with gloves, right? He had boots on and a heavy jacket, and he goes, "Oh my God, you have heat. You got running water." I'm like, "And we have electricity." And he's like, no. He goes, "Most places we go are just abandoned. They're falling apart." He goes, "I didn't know this was a functional place." And we've had that before. People ask, how far away is the nearest bathroom? Do you guys have a porta potty? And I'm like, sure. I said 2 miles on the road by Walton's Mountain, there's a phone, and they're making a joke because people don't realize it's a real functional house, but it's a small house. But people don't realize it can pack a punch. We can't offer paranormal on demand. I mean, we have people come up and they rent it 3-4 times, looking for something. And I think that happens in a lot of paranormal life. People are searching for something on the other side. And we had this one guy, he came out 5 times, and then he got his wish. On the 5th night, he was just like relaxing. He was going to open up his laptop and do business. And then he got so scared. Elke gets a phone call around midnight, right? And he goes, "Hey guys, this is so and so. Are you guys still awake?" We're like, "Is everything okay?" He said, "Yeah." He goes, "You know what?" He goes, "Things are getting crazy over here." He goes, "Can you send Mackenzie over? And I don't want to investigate alone." So poor Mackenzie had to wake up, come over here and investigate the whole night because all hell broke loose 5 times, and finally he got his wish. But it's weird. Some people come in, they hear the story, they get a couple of EVPs, they're like, oh, nothing major happened. And then out of nowhere, it's like the lottery. It must be something weird, or must be that person. I mean, we had people literally run out of the house screaming. And we're like, for us living here, it's like you get immune to it. Almost like being in a war zone. Your first time, you get your cherry busted, you're ready to freak out. And then by the time you're ready to go back, you're like, you know what?
We don't respond to noises that much anymore.
And and we hear things and see things. But what did get me was this past July. That really scared me. Well, actually, 2 things happened that really scared me.
Growling when you were hanging up the cross. This was kind
Oh yeah, you tell the story better. I'm losing my voice here. I think we're boring, Russ. Look at his face. Christ, sir, keep talking. What is New Jersey?
Jesus.
Look at you smile. Hello, Jersey.
Yeah, that was this was in February. Again, Courtney, Kenzie decided to do more in her room because she wants to stay there now. And she wanted to get more shelves because she collects beer cans, or what is it now? I don't know, something she collects. So she has the whole arsenal up there, and she needed another shelf. So Jay said, I'm going to go up there. They had to take a cross off the wall where Orlando and Frank gave them 2008. So when this was hanging on, we painted it, but it hung there on the same space.
That was scary.
But now this time they had to hang it somewhere else because the shelf.
We took it down to
the shelf had to go there. So I'm sitting down here and watching TV, and I'm kind of like, my God, what the hell are they doing up there? I hear all of a sudden they're kind of bickering at each other, and I'm kind of like, hey, what's going on up there? And they weren't even, I'm looking up, and I get up, and all of a sudden I hear that loud growl, and I look, and I'm like, nah, that was not the shepherd, no. So I'm running up the stairs, I'm kind of like, what are you doing up here? And he said, nothing, we just did a prayer, and I said, it sounded down here you were fighting really bad. And he said, no, I just did a prayer because we had to move the cross to another space. So whatever it was, he didn't like it. They dare move the cross to another place. This was not okay. So
that, and then July got me. Courtney went, this was right after we had a town celebration. It was broad daylight. So Courtney goes out with her boyfriend. She's gone. So Mackenzie said that morning she was going to go to Dunkin' Donuts. But I didn't realize that she hooked up with one of her friends, and they went to the mall. So it was just me and Oak in the house. And like I said, it takes a lot to scare me. And all of a sudden, I haven't heard this in years, Ross. All of a sudden, it sounds like somebody jumps off a bureau and heavy. And then you hear something running, right? So I said, okay, I said, someone's next door. She's like, no. She goes, it's all in your head. So I'm like, okay. So I go out to the kitchen. I get my soda. I come back, and you hear something running. Now, Elka's like, somebody broke in. So I'm like, what's going on? So all of a sudden, I'm like, before I go next door, call the kids, make sure they're not home. So she verified, okay, Courtney's not home, Mackenzie's not home. So I get my dog and my weapon, and I'm like, man, I got this really bad feeling. And I'm like, I really pray to God there's nobody, I don't want to shoot anybody. So I go next door. Now I know it's not you, because as soon as I go next door, this little pup you saw earlier goes flat. Like she wants to come up and see, up. You want to say hi to Russ? So yeah, you're talking about me, right? Yeah. So she comes up. Yeah. Miss Hero. Yeah, we're gonna embarrass her now. Yeah. So she lays on the floor and starts crying. She won't go up the stairs. I said, no. I said, you're coming with me, lady. I said, I'm not going on. So we finally drive up the stairs, and now she protests. She won't go any farther. She's crying. So now I'm like, okay, you stay put. Yes, I'm embarrassing you. And so now I go in and I clear room by room. I check under the beds, nothing, right? So I go down, I clear the weapon, secure it. Uncle's like, what was up? I said nothing. So Mackenzie comes home with her friend. They come over here. They turn the TV on. And I'm thinking about it because my mind never stops. So I said, maybe it was the fan or the air conditioner up in Mackenzie's room. Now, Russ, this is gonna freak you out. So I go upstairs. Like I said, you go on top of the stairs. It's just the opposite. It's kind of you're upstairs. There's our bathroom. You walk down the hall. At the end is Mackenzie's room. So I go in the bathroom. Now I got an idea. Maybe the noise came from Mackenzie's room. Maybe it's something she left on. I go in there. I look around. Everything's off. I had a big cross on my neck. As soon as I turn around, it sounded like somebody picked up, you know those old steamer trunks? Somebody picked up, it hit on the ground in the attic. But it sounded like the whole entire house vibrated, right? As soon as that happens, my cross on my chest, what does it say, Janet?
I'm watching.
Oh, Janet's watching too?
It won't let me log in. Okay, she's watching it, but she can't.
Janet, you can't talk. It's up to me now. Oh, Janet. So what happens is my cross drops on the ground. It just falls off at the same time that the bang is. So I pick it up. I keep myself composed. I go downstairs. Elka's, her eyes are like this. She goes, what the hell was that? She goes, it sounded like the whole house is falling apart. I said, I'm going to go check on the girls. So I come over. Now, the girl who was with Mackenzie, she was in the paranormal field. And she's like, Mr. Yapel? She goes, was that you? I'm like, no, that's why I'm coming over here. I said, was it you guys? Did you guys play any jokes on us? And they're like, no. So we're like, okay. We're like, you know what? You just had your first paranormal experience to the girl. So that night, Mackenzie calls us over. She goes to buy a big pizza. So we're sitting over here talking, and we're telling them that, you know, they should start an all-girl paranormal team, you know, because like Mackenzie knows a lot of people. And all of a sudden, we're all sitting around eating, nobody else in the house, and you hear this. Something jumps off and is running. The girl, what was her name? Skylark? Scarlet. Her eyes like, she opens up, she goes, Mr. April, aren't you going to check it out? I said, whatever's doing that. I said, you can chase it all night. I said, it's not human. It's not going to hurt you. So that was probably one of the times that really got me, because if you try chasing this, you're never going to find it. You just got to for what it is. It's something paranormal. We'll never know. But we have things like that happen to us a lot. We had something happen this year with the Ring camera, remember? That was scary.
That was creepy. That was really creepy.
I'll let you tell the story because I'm talking to us.
We were watching TV. The girls were sleeping. Yeah, it was late.
It was late.
Sometimes over the weekend we are really night outs. Sometimes we're watching.
We're vampires, so I have to tell you.
Sometimes 3-4 o'clock in the morning, and we're still watching TV or do something. So we
you know what scares me is you're holding that down really short.
I don't know what to do with her.
Okay.
I mean, I can't get out.
No, I'm just teasing. I got to break up the.
I'm sitting here. I have talk on this side and here you here.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Call me fat boy. Go ahead. Say it one more time.
So sometimes I fall asleep too. Especially when I have to.
Go ahead. Knife hand to the throat. That's great.
Yeah, lay down. So the ring camera goes on, and the first time, because sometimes they go on too because it's motion.
They're motion sensors.
Motion sensors. I'm kind of like, maybe it's a spider or whatever. It's running and nothing.
This is what we have for us right here. These, right? But what happens is they're motion sensors. So this little blue light will go on if something moves in front of it. So we have them, we tell people, but they don't have recording on it. They just go off and we look at it. So go ahead, Elko. That's why I show
So he looked and everything is quiet.
Maybe
Nothing is here. So he said, Second time goes off. He said, "Nah, I'm not looking." The third time is going off, and he turns it on, and he hears, I guess, a conversation, and it freaks him out, and he wakes me up. And of course, me kind of like, what the heck do you want from me?
Oh yeah, don't ever wake her up without getting punched.
So all of a sudden you could hear for the bang because he turned the sound on. Oh, someone was talking, you know.
Someone's talking.
And it says,
did you hear that?
I couldn't hear it through here.
You did, right?
No, I didn't hear it.
You didn't hear it? Okay, go ahead. I'll go.
So, and he said, "Did you hear that?" And I'm kind of like, "What?" And he said, "It said, shh, be quiet. They're listening to us." And then it got quiet. So I'm gonna.
It was scary. I locked up over here and went next door, and we're sitting and we're watching TV, and then it shows like ring notification. So I said, "That's weird." I said, so I just look at it, and it's like infrared. You can see everything. I'm like, Jay, there's nothing there. So I'm watching TV, and all of a sudden I look up. It says I got another notification, right? So now it's like midnight, and there's nobody there. So I said, I'll look at it. Nothing. So about 1:05, it went off again. I'm like, you know what? I don't know what, I don't want to use the word possess. I said, I hit sound, and I hear two men talking back and forth, clear as day, like they're having some kind of like conversation, argument, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's not real. It's not like somebody tapped in, but it sounds like past tense, right? And I jump up and I say, "Oh, because somebody's next door." And then she's like, "Oh," she yells out, "What the?" Right? And all of a sudden she's like, "What?" I said, and all of a sudden she hears, "Shh, they're listening to us next door." And she's like, "Oh my God, somebody's next door." So we come over. I'm not going to even walk it because I know whatever's here is not real. And we come over and it's peaceful and quiet. There's nothing in it. But the dog, again, you saw Zoe, right? The dog would not come over. She refused. She laid right in front of the door and said, "Nah, I'm not coming in." So when she does that, we know there's something here that she doesn't like. But yeah, that's kind of like a little bit about us. I mean, I could go on and on because the history itself, it's amazing.
Yeah, we only have this much kind of like. I mean, we have now 18 years, and then we have all the past, what we know, where we're living here, and what happened to them. So it's, I mean, like you said, we can go on and on. Did you just read the connection at her door opened up?
No, I didn't read that because I started reading the Jeanette doors came. So that's the other thing, Ross, right? Now I don't know. I don't want this to be like an ice challenge where people dumping buckets of water, but when the book came out, right? Did you hear the story behind the book?
Yeah, you guys told me that when we talked.
Right, with the curse, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So it's creepy because about 15 people, I forgot I told you about 15 people have already told me that while reading the book, strange occurrences have happened in their house. So I don't know. I mean, so one of Jeanette's girlfriends said that's bullshit. That didn't happen. So she went out and she bought the book, and she challenged it. I don't know. But I guess this lady's a pretty stand-up person, according to Jeanette. I never met her, and she actually posted and made a posting online that was, I didn't see it yet because I've been so busy. I guess things started happening in her house, and she recorded it, and so now we have an urban legend that some people that who have the book, not everybody.
Look at cousin after chapter 7, right? Where everything started.
Yeah,
chapter 7.
Chapter 3 or 7.
And your cousin too. She had knocking and stuff going on in her house. So she gave it to her other cousin, and Teresa, and they're in the paranormal. They're kind of like investigating. That's where Mackenzie is with, and so, and she took the book home because Barbara said, I don't want that book in my house anymore. So Teresa said, oh, I don't mind. So she took the book home.
Chris has the book.
Never anything happened at her place. So I don't know. I don't know if it's maybe kind of like you feel like kind of like, oh, I have the book, and then.
Or your sixth sense opens up.
I don't know.
But I think it's interesting. I mean,
so Chris has to book.
So you know, if anybody wants to come out to the house, listen, nothing's going to hurt you. We've had the house blessed so many times.
Like he always says, we didn't lost anyone.
We haven't lost anyone yet. And if you do go missing, we're probably not going to look for you. It's just be another urban legend. You're just, you know, as long as you pay up front. And you go missing, well, we can't do anything about it. You know, you're just another scream in the walls. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, we're gonna get ready to wrap up.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I know.
Oh, it's midnight already.
3 hours.
Holy
How could you talk for
moly.
3 hours?
Yeah, you talk too much.
No, maybe not this time.
But I got muted.
So yeah, Russ, you can see we also have a lot of fun too. You know. Do you have any questions for us, Russ?
I don't think he's good now.
If anybody wants to book the house for the night for an investigation, how can they get a hold of you guys? And
either the messenger or our website is the 1771 Enfield house, where it's kind of like a booking system is with it.
Yep.
Or just give us a message, and yeah, we can set something up and we can get in contact.
Yep. And we have all kinds of things here. We have tours. Not, you know, you don't have to be a paranormal team. We have tours. Sometimes we like to do maybe once a month. Maybe we've been trying.
And in the fall, we do kind of like campfire tales. Kenzie is kind of like wants to switch over more to the, I don't want to say to the normal population. That sounds horrible. But to the non-paranormal people, she wants, because in school a lot of her classmates showed interest, and when she has sleepovers, they always want to do investigation. So she said, I'm gonna do now kind of like she wants to create a youth paranormal groups and teaching and stuff like that.
There's a lot of
she wants to go kind of like in more attracting also the
we're branching. We've even been working with a couple of different towns, and some of the police departments. Some, you know, it's hard because a lot of police believe in paranormal. So some of them want to get together like police paranormal teams, and we told them that they could use this as their base. You know, wherever they want to have meetings or whatever. So we're trying to promote that, but we also have paranormal equipment that people can rent, I like when she goes out and buys stuff, guys. I try to keep my eyes closed. I don't drink, but sometimes she said to me, "I bought some more paranormal equipment." Right? I'm like, "Okay, honey." And this is why I mow the lawn only when she does this. She goes, "Yeah, it was a little bit expensive." She goes out and buys this, an SL. What is it, Alka? XLS. Yeah, it's a nice piece of equipment. And so when that came in, then she told me what it cost. I decided to go mow the lawn. And then at the same time, she bought these LED, like they look like lightsabers, dowsing rods. They light up. So she bought that and that. And then she says, "So what are you gonna get me for Mother's Day?" I said, "You got it already." What was it? $1,200?
No.
Oh no, you're down. Yeah. So we have paranormal equipment. Yeah, your lab, Chris. It's coming out of my pocket. That's why we need you up here, Chris. No. So and then yeah, she buys stuff. So we rent out. We have K2 meters. We have I don't know. You guys know more. You guys don't even tell me anymore what you buy because you know I'll end up in the hospital. So yeah, so we rent out things for non-paranormal. But we have we try to tailor fit to everybody. We'll take from experts, some people like John and other people said, you know what, they should put ratings on paranormal like PG, R, and X. They said because they said your house, and I don't know why, like Joe and them, they said it's not an entry level house. I don't know. They said you should be a little bit more experienced, but we just said, if anybody comes in, they want to go ghost hunting. We actually gave a couple of ghost hunting classes before. Russ, if you guys want to come up, let us know.
Yep. We're
We're
planning
here.
on coming to Connecticut to see family. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
That gives you a reason to visit your family. Come to Connecticut.
Yeah, because we're located, like I said, we're 10 minutes from Springfield, Mass, across the river, Six Flags, and I think you go east, you can go see John.
Bradley Airport.
Bradley Airport's 15 minutes away.
Yep.
And then John is probably an hour and a half. And then Jimmy Benito, he thought we were a half hour away. So he's like, I didn't know you were like an hour away from me. He goes, I only drive a half hour. So I told Jimmy, he laughs, right? I said, Jimmy, drive a half hour, get out of your car. I said, get a cup of coffee, run in a circle, get back in your car. I said, then you're only a half hour away from us. He goes, that's funny, Jay. So
yeah,
really,
it's kind of
I know. I think it's time that we better show because I think Russ is like, I never talk to these guys again. Yeah. So.
all right, if you guys want to hang backstage for a minute, I'm going to close the show out. I'll be right back.
Okay.
In a minute.
That's good.
Sounds good.
It was awesome.
Sounds good.
Yeah, thank you guys for coming on.
Okay. Good
You're
night,
welcome,
everybody.
Russ. Good night. All right, we'll hang tight. I shouldn't say hang tight. That's not a good thing to say. Well.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining me tonight. There will not be a podcast next Saturday because I will be doing some investigating at the Missouri State Penitentiary. So we won't be on next Saturday night. I'll probably put a replay up for the ones that want to watch. So everybody stay safe out there. Stay humble. Remember, if you're being bullied, you have a voice. Feel free to reach out to us. We'll listen. So everyone have a good night. Stay safe out there. God bless. And we will see you again soon.